Hey, T-Sippers. Hey, 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 hey. Can you hear me? Hey, Miss Tom. How you doing? How you doing? Come on in. Hold on. Let's go in and see what's going down today. The day after. The day after. The day after. Say he embarrassed. He mad. Him mad. Him mad. Hold on. Come on. Let's watch while we wait for people to come in. Let's hear what Jim Jordan say. He checked Trump about that Obama stuff. Let's see. Let's see.
Can you just talk to me a little bit why you left the president's address?
Why is the volume so low?
Well, I went there and took the seat that I took because I knew that the president would have to come by in close proximity to me. And I wanted the president to get a message, and I wanted him to get it up close. And the message was, black people are not apes.
Black people ain't
When the
apes.
president portrayed Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as members of the primate family, that was unacceptable. There are some people who just brush it off as, oh, the president.
Monkeys don't have big lips. They got lips like Trump.
I have a right to an opinion too, and it was very harmful to me and very harmful to people of color. This country has a history of demeaning people of color who are of African ancestry by portraying them as apes or members of the primate family. Well, when you allow that level of racism to continue, when you tolerate it, you perpetuate it. I refuse to be a part of the perpetuation of this level of racism. And this is why I wanted to confront him up close. And judging by the look on his face, he got the message, because he turned away quickly and tried to move briskly beyond where I was. But he got the message, and he knows that there are at least some people who are willing to stand up to him face to face, toe to toe, and tell him what he needs to hear. He does not have people around him who are giving him honest opinions, in my opinion. And he needs more people to stand up to him so that he will realize that he's not beyond the law. He doesn't believe and respect the separation of powers. He doesn't believe and respect due process of the law.
He don't believe in what?
Honest opinions, in my opinion. And he needs more people to stand up to him so that he will realize that he's not beyond the law. He doesn't believe and respect the separation of powers. He doesn't believe and respect due process of the law. He believes he could go to war at will without conferring with the Congress. This president is out of control, and at some point we have to reel him in. I just believe that this was worth it to have him understand that he is not beyond reproach.
They put him out
No, the president has not.
for putting up that sign.
As far as we know, in terms of that video, what do you have to say to that?
Generally speaking, I don't ask people to apologize. Here's what I ask. Don't apologize, just tell the truth. If he would tell the truth and say that was wrong, that you don't depict African Americans as members of the primate family, that would mean more to me than an apology. Just tell the truth. But for those who enjoy hearing a person say, I'm sorry and I regret it, then okay, I'll accept that too. But my preference is to hear truth about what happened. And he has declined to do this, and I am not going to decline to take further action. This is not the end. I plan to do the only thing that we can do to reel him in, and that's impeach.
Impeach.
And hearing it just not only about what you're talking about here, the president's also touching on things like affordability, immigration, which I understand is probably a big thing.
He got seen. I assume that was his goal. Yes.
What you've heard so far,
You can't hear him?
Well, as you probably know, I didn't get to hear very much of the speech. I'm sorry to tell you. So
Yeah, he
I really
talking low
can't
to
comment on
me.
the speech. I plan to catch
Oh
it
yeah, he wanted to be seen. Hold
on
on.
some other station at a later time, but I can't comment on.
Hey guys, is your tire pressure light
Oh,
stuck
you
on
can?
even when your
Oh, I
tires
had
are
already
fine?
moved
I had the
off.
same headache until
I
I
guess
found.
I can.
As you know, the president has depicted a former president and first lady as apes. The behavior has been declared racist by a good many people,
Very.
but I don't think the president has really received the message that is unacceptable. He seems to think that he can do these dastardly things with impunity. Tonight, I wanted him to have a person confront him and let him know that black people aren't apes, that black people are not going to tolerate this kind of behavior. I don't speak for everybody, but I speak for people of goodwill who understand that if you tolerate this kind of behavior, you perpetuate it. I refuse to tolerate this level of hate that the president is in fact putting into policy. We must take a stand against this level of invidious discrimination. I wanted him to know and I wanted him to see it and hear it up close. But judging from the expression on his face, he got the message. He saw it, he got the message, and I hope that others will let him have a similar message so that he will discontinue this behavior. Now, there are people who believe that I should not take a stand such as this. There are others who have taken stands, and they too have been vilified. Dr. King went to jail for taking a stand. Rosa Parks went to jail for taking a stand. Sometimes you have to take a stand. Rosa Parks was alone when she was arrested in a racist southern town, but she was there. There are times when it is, on some issues, better to stand alone than not stand at all. I stood alone, but I assure you,
He stood
I
by
would do it
himself.
again because he must
He
know
said he ain't
that there
need
are
no
people
group,
who will take a
no
stand
gang.
against his insidious behavior.
Do you think you're standing alone on Capitol Hill?
I believe that there are others who agree with me, but for some reason, they're not ready to do what I do. And I'll not give any reasons to characterize why they choose to do what they do. But I know that there are many who agree with me. I've heard people in private conversations talk about it. And you've talked about it on television. You've seen it yourselves with the various persons who are on these various programs that talk about these kinds of issues, the political programs. So there are other people, but at some point you have to confront him face to face. He needed to see this. He needs to know that there are people who will take a stand against him.
Facts.
He has become a
He
person
think people scared of
who
him.
assumes that he is beyond the law.
Right.
He doesn't recognize the separation of powers. He doesn't recognize due process of the law. He doesn't believe that judges can make rulings that are antithetical to his opinions and be right. He assumes that if he says it, it is right, and that might makes right. And if we allow this to continue, he is shredding the Constitution. He goes to war at will without conferring with the Congress. If we allow this to continue, the Constitution will be meaningless at some point. So we have to take a stand now.
Please hit the like button coming in.
Out 2 years in a row from the State of the Union.
I haven't. The consequences were of no consequence to me. You have to take a stand. The consequences of no consequence, in the sense that I would allow the consequences to prevent me from doing what I believe is a righteous thing to do. Dr. King did not allow the consequences to prevent him from going to Birmingham, and he went to jail. Rosa Parks did not allow the consequences to prevent her from taking a seat on the bus. That's where we are now. We are back to a point where people have to take a stand. I'm just a person who has done it. There are many others, I believe, who would.
It's out of control.
Everybody, I appreciate it.
Out of control. And he is out of order. And his whole administration, you let me tell it, Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, ain't nobody doing their job. Everybody is overlooking the law, the Constitution. It's just the craziest mess I done seen in all my life. Trump panics. Let me see this one. What he panicking for? He thought that it was cute and smart. That crap that
those documents
that he
are
did.
being,
Oh yeah, no,
Donald
yeah.
Trump has gone.
Is this the one I wanted first? He thought what he was doing yesterday was smart and cute. You know, it's just horrible, the stuff he do and say and how he do it. Yeah, she was just 14. Oh yeah, it's time to get these funky face people up out of office. Humiliated. FBI turned against them. Let's go
In
in.
history, universally panned as just being absolutely horrible in every regards. Look, where did everybody go, Donald? They weren't at the State of the Union. They were at the People's State of the Union. Your low-energy fascist fest was the worst State of the Union in American history. Oh, and it dragged along so long. What was it, an hour and 41 minutes, the longest in history, the most boring in history, universally panned as just being absolutely horrible in every regards. Look at all those empty seats. Yeah, Donald Trump was panicking. So was the MAGA Republican establishment. So was state regime
Feelings
media.
hurt.
The Midas Touch Network led all news in terms of views yesterday with the counter-programming People's State of the Union. We hit over 2 million views right after the People's State of the Union concluded. That number, of course, continued to rise thereafter. In addition to just the view count, there was a huge, massive crowd that was there at the People's State of the Union on the National Mall. You could see the Capitol building in the background, and, you know, Midas Touch easily beat state regime media, which calls itself Fox and Digital Views. It wasn't even close. Throughout the entire night, Midas Touch destroyed state regime media known as Fox in Views. So you had people like Jesse Waters before the State of the Union aired, or the People's State of the Union aired, and they were competing, and Midas Touch easily destroyed Fox. You had Jesse Waters, who no doubt is jealous of the Midas Touch Network. Jesse Waters' mom is a huge Midas Touch fan. She's probably watching this right now. How are you doing? And she warned Jesse Waters about going down this rabbit hole of being a fascist propagandist. But, you know, sadly, you know, he's Jesse Waters. It is what it is. But here's what Jesse Waters said about the Midas Touch Network. People's State of the Union goes, no one's going to watch that. Guess what? Let's look at the side-by-side comparison, Jesse. We beat ya. We beat you big, Jesse. Here, play this clip.
The chamber's starting to fill up, and the big question tonight, what's it going to be like in there, given the fact that a record-setting 73 congressional Democrats have decided to bail on this speech tonight. They won't be there, and a couple dozen of them having a competing event over on the National Mall tonight. They are dubbing the People's State of the Union. Jesse, we'll send it back to you.
And no one's watching that. Absolutely no one's watching that.
Wrong answer.
And some of the members of Congress were falling asleep during Donald Trump's People's State of the Union. Not only did the Midas Touch Network beat Fox state regime media, we beat other corporate news. Every corporate news lost to Midas Touch. Then, so funny, I'm not sure if you caught this, but Midas Touch Network host Adam Mockler was then on the Chris Cuomo show, News Nation, and Geraldo Rivera, who's also, I think, still a Fox host, was on there as well. And Geraldo tried to yell at Mockler and say, well, why are you and Midas Touch Network boycotting? It's so disrespectful. Watch as Mockler just destroys Geraldo Rivera. I don't think I've ever thought I'd have to use that sentence. Watch as the Midas Touch Network Gen Z host destroys Geraldo Rivera. That's what happened. Here, watch this. Let's play it.
What I don't get, Adam, what is the sell on I don't even want you to listen to the President of the United States as he presents his concerns to the United States people and the Congress. How do you sell that to people?
It's very charitable to say that Donald Trump would be listing his concerns to the American people and not just airing out his grievances and lying for 2 to 3 hours.
Lying.
Here's my response.
Come on, Adam.
Unprecedented moments demand unprecedented responses. The tariffs that Donald Trump put on, those have been unprecedented. The way that ICE has deployed to cities across the country, unprecedented. Trump's war against the Supreme Court that he just started, very unprecedented. I mean, he called for the arrest of the governor of my state, J.B. Pritzker. So if you're going to argue that Democrats are doing something unprecedented, then that's just not convincing to me. I think that Democrats shining a light on people like the Epstein victims or people who lost their health care or some of the small businesses that were ruined by said tariffs is a good use of time. It's a good use of the attention of the American people.
This is what would happen to your body.
Ooh wee, the truth will set you free.
Day one, you take your...
Ooh wee, the truth will set you free.
Although, how do you see it?
I think that that is disrespect disguised as being...
Gerardo, Trump is disrespectful. It gets no more disrespectful than Trump. Now, you done went into a vault, made a fool of yourself, used to talk to people crazy and shit. Don't come on here today, yesterday, talking about disrespectful. He disrespect us every day. He disrespect the victims in which he victimized. Now, when y'all come on here making excuses for a PDFer, it makes me think that you played the game with him.
I think that there are 2 days a year when we support the president, regardless.
Who cares? He's not presidential. He doesn't require, or he doesn't get, he's not entitled to respect our time. He's stealing. He is graping, unaliving our people. Period. Right? He don't get no respect. None.
One is when he is inaugurated. The other is during the State of the Union.
It's a joke.
When, as the Constitution requires, he gives you, he or hopefully...
The Constitution in which he don't respect and he don't abide by. You sound crazy. You sound slow.
One day she gives you what the state of the Republic is. And to suggest that because a president lies, you're going to boycott the State of the Union.
Yes, because he lies.
When the president lies, what president? The Republican, the Democrat?
Any one of them.
Don't politicians bend facts constantly, particularly when they're addressing big crowds? I think that it is rude and violates the pluribus unum, out of many one. It is in the Constitution. We all should stand together and celebrate our institutions.
Give me a break. You're going to cite the Constitution and the peaceful transfer of power, the inauguration, as something that we should respect when we're about to listen to the president, who was the first person to break that peaceful transfer of power after people were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," because of his election fraud lies. And about 4 years ago at the State of the Union, Marjorie Taylor Greene heckled Joe Biden when he was speaking about his deceased son, Beau Biden. So the Republicans have brought us down to new depths day by day by day.
So it is only the Republicans?
Yes, Donald
Trump. It is only the Republicans. President Clinton was in the midst of impeachment when he delivered the State of the... Wait a second. Do you remember?
Did Joe Biden post an AI photo of Obama as a gorilla?
President Clinton...
Hold on.
President Clinton...
Hold on, I can't
President Clinton... President Clinton was in the midst of impeachment when he delivered the State of the Union. So, according to Midas Touch, why was President Clinton allowed to speak? What bigger anchor could he have around his neck than impeachment?
And then more of angry Chris
Cuomo
angry Geraldo Rivera getting absolutely destroyed again
Adam
by Adam
Walmart.
Mockler. Mockler destroyed Cuomo, like he eviscerated Cuomo. He ripped Cuomo to shreds. I just say that also because those words bother Cuomo so much. Like, why is everything destroyed? Why is everything eviscerated? He destroyed Cuomo.
Ate him up.
He brutalized Cuomo. Here, watch this clip. You probably won't see it anywhere other than on the Midas Touch Network because I'm not really sure how many people are watching Cuomo on News Nation. Here, play this clip.
Nobody's
first one he
saying that
was
Trump
since-
isn't allowed to
since
speak,
Johnson.
but we're saying that we don't have to listen to Trump when he's speaking. Nobody's saying he's not allowed to speak. We're just saying we don't have to listen. And
we
it's a
don't
little
wanna
bit different
listen.
what Clinton did than Donald Trump deploying ICE to cities, killing U.S. citizens, calling for the arrest of people. And again, spare me like the Constitution when Donald Trump was the one who stepped all over it repeatedly 5 years ago.
So wait a second, buddy. Are you the one
Buddy.
who gets to decide?
He's speaking well for the people.
Who we should not listen to?
No, 40 senators, 50 senators.
What is your life
representatives
experience?
decided. 50
I know you have a
Democratic
popular
representatives
podcast. What is your life
congressmen
experience?
decide. I'm not the one deciding. The Democrats did. The Democrats decided they're not going
You
to
are
listen.
deciding.
The American people did.
You're having
Listen
your
to this.
party. You're having
5 minutes.
you're
5
having
minutes
your-
after the Midas Touch stream started, there were 100,000 people watching the waiting screen.
Can he
The
run?
screen had 100,000 people
He should
watching.
be.
I mean, how
If
many
a
people watch
convicted
your show?
felon
Not as many
can,
as
he
that. People
can.
want to know the truth.
Fox News dwarfs your audience. Does that mean we should all listen and agree to what's being said on Fox News?
I'm just giving
They
you the
make your
numbers,
audience
buddy.
look
I'm just
minuscule.
giving you the numbers.
Well, you're giving me
listen.
your.
All right, going back to
Giving you the
People's,
numbers, buddy.
State of the
Giving you
Union,
the numbers. He's a
we had some
loser.
MAGA hecklers who were trying to go after our host, Joy Reid and Katie Fang. Watch what Joy Reid did. She made
Ate him up, y'all. Ate him up.
out of the MAGA hecklers. Here, play this clip.
All right, everybody. One note. We just want to do sort of one housekeeping note. Attention, all MAGA trolls.
Get your ass up out of here.
And with apologies to the pastor who gave the invocation, your bullshit is not welcome here. And to
I love it.
paraphrase
Stand up to the
one of my
bully.
favorite actors in the world, Robert De Niro, I'm going to slightly paraphrase him. Fuck y'all. We're here to hear the truth and to hear from impacted people, not to see or hear from you.
How could
So
he
go back
run?
and pay attention to your orange
Trump
line
has been
friend.
in two sides and
Hi, I'm Andy
by
Levy,
the Senate,
General Counsel at the
acquitted by the
DNC.
Senate.
We just sued President Trump.
It
and
won't
Hillary,
be this
and I
time.
hope you will support.
Okay, so you could have tuned into the People's State of the Union, or if you wanted to see Donald Trump's Pedo Island cabinet in action, you could have watched
Island.
the actual State of the Union. You had like Howard Lutnick, big fan of Epstein's Pedo Island, right? He brings
Jim.
his children there after saying he never saw Epstein after 2005. He brought other kids' children there. They talked about nannies together, even though Epstein never had children. I'm not sure why he would need a nanny. I don't know if nanny's the code word that the Epstein class uses. They're nannies. But anyway, watch Howard Lutnick walk around, and everyone's like grossed out by this guy. Play this clip.
Little boy, man, go ball.
Nice to see you, sir.
Look at the judge. Mhm.
All right, enough of that. Let's go back to the People's State of the Union. Congresswoman Summer Lee, here she was speaking at the People's State of the Union. Midas Touch, move on. Let's play it.
Where corporations get more say in our democracy than the people we elect, where the government would rather protect powerful people in the Epstein files than the women and the girls who were sexually abused. We live in a country where we have one reality for everyday people and another for the rich and the well-connected and the well-protected. We have to change that. We have to meet the moment with bold policies that level the playing field and deliver justice no matter how much money you have to your name. That's why earlier today, I announced that I'll be introducing articles of impeachment against Pam Bondi.
Let's go.
Trump's DOJ continues to obstruct justice and refusing to comply with our subpoena to release the full, unredacted Epstein files. Bondi must be held accountable for that. And let's not forget 16,000, the women and the girls who were sexually abused. We live in a country where we have one reality for everyday people and another for the rich and the well-connected and the well-protected. We have to change that. We
got to change
meet
it.
the moment with bold policies that level the playing field and deliver justice no matter how much money you have to your name. That's why earlier today, I announced that I'll be introducing articles of impeachment against Pam Bondi. Trump's DOJ continues to obstruct justice and refusing to comply with our subpoena to release the full, unredacted Epstein files. Bondi must be held accountable for that. And let's not forget, it was Trump who said it first, release the files. So we'll keep that call up no matter what. Because where I come from in Western Pennsylvania, we know what it means to be abandoned by politicians who make big promises and lie and deliver nothing. We know what it's like when the factories close, when the hospitals cut services, when the schools can't afford to teach, when the corporations are given permission to poison our water,
Hey, Miss T.
and our communities without consequences. And we know.
Hold on, y'all. Miss T done made it over to the Tea Palace. Miss T is from the Mo 3 sector. Shout out to Miss T. Hey, girl. Y'all know I have to give it up for the Mo 3 sector. Thank you for coming and joining me.
No matter what language you speak, what zip code you live in, we all feel that pain, and we are all being squeezed by the same rigged system. So when Trump points the fingers at immigrants, or trans kids, or protesters, or journalists...
Yeah, and Geraldo Rivera talking about respect. What? And he sits up and make fun about everything and everybody. He gets no respect. No, he's not giving us no results. Why the hell he give respect? No. Let's go.
Make big promises and lie and deliver nothing. We know what it's like when the factories close, when the hospitals cut services, when the schools can't afford to teach, when the corporations are given permission to poison our water, our air, and our communities without consequences. And we know that no matter what language you speak, what zip code you live in, we all feel that pain, and we are all being squeezed by the same rigged system. So when Trump points the fingers at immigrants, or trans kids, or protesters, or journalists, understand what he's doing. He's trying to make sure we never point the finger where it belongs, at the billionaires and the corporations looting our economy, robbing our people, and buying our democracy right from under us. But here's the truth.
Ruben Gallego, Senator Gallego, here's what he had to say at the People's State of the Union. Let's play it.
But let's be clear what's happening there. They want to call that the State of the Union. It is the state of denial. Because what's going to happen under that Capitol is a bunch of lies. Lies that Donald Trump, the Republicans, are going to tell us about how great this country is doing right now. But what is true, what is happening right now is that Donald Trump, the Republicans, have made this country sicker, poorer, and less secure.
Absolutely.
Sicker, poorer, and less secure.
Absolutely.
How did it start? As soon as they got in there, what did they do? They went and they cut Medicaid and they cut food stamps.
And then have the audacity. Hold on. Hold that, sir. Hold that. Then have the nerve. Let me come over here where all the good stuff is. To be telling, oh Lord, y'all ready for this? Y'all ready to hear this? Are y'all ready? And now they telling us. Let me get to it. Don't even trust ground meat. Hold on, Miss Ma'am.
It is all human meat. All human. It's all human. The amount of people.
Hold on.
Absolutely. In fact, a good portion of it is all human meat. All human. It's all human. The amount of people killed, sacrificed, ground up, and fed back to you is more than the cattle that's on the earth. Let's put it that way.
Hold on. Let me. I need for y'all to hear this. Let me take my earpiece out. She said what now?
Absolutely. In fact, a good portion of it is all human meat. All human. It's all human. The amount of people killed, sacrificed, ground up, and fed back to you is more than the cattle that's on the earth. Let's put it that way.
More than the
We
cattle.
would steer clear of any type of
She's saying it's more than the cattle that's on the earth. The amount of people that they are grinding up and feeding back to us. So they done made things bad, took the money, taking assistance with food, pretty much making us a third world country, like Bibi Netanyahu said in the 90s. Okay? Okay? So they sacrifice. So now they kidnapping, they're raping, and illing, taking the what is it? Adrenalized blood, draining the blood, sacrificing the bodies, and then once they through doing whatever they do to it. Hell, we done seen Epstein have a whole feast with ribs, and they pulling the ribs. They done put it on the grill, you know. Yeah. So now she's saying they taking the corpse and grinding it. Yeah.
ground meat unless you literally are getting it from a farm where they process their food.
So if you don't do it yourself,
Absolutely. In fact,
you in
portion
shit
of it
trouble.
is all human meat. All human. It's all human. The amount of people killed, sacrificed,
I don't know
ground
what that
up, and
is.
fed back to you is more than the cattle that's on the earth. Let's put it that way. Okay? We would steer clear of any type of ground meat unless you literally are getting it from a farm where they process their food right there and then. In which case, really it's usually usually a farm. They've got a little store there. They've got, their own package system, their own meat system. Short of that, we wouldn't recommend any
You use
type
the words,
of
I don't know what
ground
that is.
meat
What's bo
to
eating?
be consumed if you're concerned with whether you're participating in cannibalism or not. And the biggest issue, besides the obvious, for most people, moral issue of eating another human being, is the energy behind it. And also, your bodies are not designed to consume each other, so they cause it causes health problems as well, and things of that nature. And
Oh, yeah.
You all have participated in it so far in your lives. Everybody's been eating this stuff. Everybody's been eating the fast food hamburgers. Everybody's
I ain't
been
heard him
eating
say
the
that
Roundup
yet.
stuff and things
But I
things
wouldn't
like
be
that.
surprised.
But we're just telling you that it's mostly human meat. It's mostly human meat. And a lot of it is other animals as well that you don't realize that they get rid of when they euthanize animals. And that's the hard truth. Most of the celebrities, the high-ranking celebrities, politicians, and things of that nature, they're on a purely cannibalistic diet. All of the meat that they eat are humans. And so
Oh my God.
meat processing plants. And they're not very hidden. They're pretty much, broadcast and out in the open. It's just that nobody wants to deal with that. Nobody wants to deal with that while they're lined up in the line to get their fast food burgers through the drive-through. Okay? But that is a truth, and you all get to make
So
a
that's
decision.
why
You
he
all
say,
are
is that
always-
why they say all he eat is McDonald's and Burger King? Cause he know he eating humans. Oh my God. Oh, my stomach just flipped. Let me stop.
able to make decisions as to what changes are you going to make? What changes are you going to make? Because on the moral aspect, okay, but there's the energy aspect. If we are all one, and you're literally eating yourselves, okay?
I just ate too,
On the
man.
energy aspect,
Oh my
there
God.
is no humane way to kill someone or something.
Stinky.
There's no such thing. That's the
Raw
stupidest
husband.
thing anybody's
Dude.
ever explained.
A hissy
Ever.
fit.
okay, ever, okay? And so all of the fear
Oh,
and the
my
stress
stomach.
that shoots through a body while it's being killed, because
Me
most of
too,
it
but
isn't
thank
even
goodness
painless
I
in
had
any way,
chicken.
shape, or form. There's trauma, massive trauma involved in it. That gets physically embodied, actualized and embodied, and then you're eating that fear. It's an extremely low conscious aspect, and that gets fully integrated into your body on a visceral level and your brain. And it literally prevents brain activity, and it instills Alzheimer's and dementia.
You know, that may be why our young folk is just so off the chain nowadays. It may be because of what they're eating, and they don't, I mean, you know, don't even know. Oh, wow. Y'all know when I come over here, it ain't no telling what we gonna hear. Right? What he saying?
Really, I've been connecting the dots in the Epstein files.
Okay.
Jeffrey Epstein was a member of the advisory board for an organization called the Lifeboat Foundation in the early 2000s. The Lifeboat Foundation, well, they have a program called Life Shield Bunkers, which discusses developing fallback positions on Earth in the wake of an apocalyptic event. The Lifeboat Foundation is interesting because it was the second organization ever to perform a wireless money transfer in the early 90s, decades before cryptocurrency. Money transfers was the original large-scale currency mining software. So now you have an organization that is able
They ain't
to
got like a
perform
thick
large-scale,
eyebrow, but
infinite,
baby.
untraceable money transfers, and they're building giant underground infrastructures. Donald Barr was a man who inducted Epstein into the Dalton Institute, and Epstein had no college degree. He authored a sci-fi novel called Relations in Space, about an aristocratic slumlord class who trafficked children into space. What's even stranger is the U.S. Attorney General who was
What
supposed
they
to
parents
prosecute
ate as well,
Epstein
yeah.
was William Barr, Donald Barr's son. Also recently surfacing information about a former U.S. government official named Catherine Austin Fitz. She managed $40 billion in federal funds and says $21 trillion was quietly stolen to build secret underground society civilizations, all interconnected by underground transportation systems. She watched it happen from the inside. She sat inside the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. She saw the money move, and she said it went somewhere the public, you and I, were never meant to find out about. An estimated 170 underground bases, subterranean transportation networks, advanced energy tech, an entire parallel world funded by our tax dollars.
They just
All
playing in our
built while we
face.
were told the budget was too tight for school and hospital improvement. And the CBDC that's being rolled out right now, Fitz says that's the control grid to manage the people left on the surface. If a former Bush administration official with direct access to federal finances is saying $21 trillion went missing to build deep underground civilization and transportation networks, and the government has not once ever told you where it went, what does that tell you? That is exactly where the national debt and deficit went to. This goes deep, literally. I've been connecting the dots in the Epstein files. Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay, let's get on back out, because you know, once I start playing over here, what I have seen in, oh yeah, that's that Charlie. And y'all know we have new sightings. What is this? Who is she? I don't remember. Oh yeah, she signed, Alabama signed a law for child triple X stuff to get life. Hold on, let me hear this one.
The odor, the stench, the stink. How bad is it? What do you know about that?
Oh, I played that last night.
I mean, think about the best.
Yeah, I played that last night. Hold on, before I go back over there. Oh.
Everything is going according to plan, but they're starting to notice. Well, who's going to stop us? We already control everything.
Hey guys, what's up?
Everything is going according to plan, but they're
Who walked in?
Well, who's going to stop us?
Who walked
We
in?
already control everything.
Bam, 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 bam.
Hey guys, what's up?
Ooh, come on through, God. Come on through. Come on through. Come on through. Come on through. I'm trying to see what else before I get back over there. And I don't know how to process all this alien talk. I just don't know how to process it. Okay, let's get back over here. I just don't know how to process aliens, talking to aliens, transforming, body didn't go all the way through. Ashton Kutcher, yeah, he in the Epstein files. What else? What's this one?
I'm never going to make it to heaven. I just don't think I qualify.
Nope.
I don't think there's a thing I can do.
Interesting timing of A. Bad Don's words, especially in light of the videos I've been making lately, and especially in light of him rededicating America as one nation under God. You know, God, which sounds exactly like God. God, which happens to be short for Gadriel, another name for Lucifer. You know, because Gadriel in the Book of Enoch was a fallen angel, the one responsible for deceiving Eve in the Garden of Eden. And just to catch those of you up that didn't see these videos, God, it also means reptile. And you know, Lucifer, he was a seraphim angel. Seraphim angels, which are strongly linked to serpents and reptiles. So the guy, who I have literally been saying for years now, is Lucifer, in the flesh, is saying that we should dedicate ourselves as one nation under God. You know, he has another name in the Bible too, and it's Abaddon. You know, they had a king over them who was the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew was Abaddon. Oh, and it just happens to come from Revelation 9:11. 9, do you know what that is? It's 4 plus 5. He was the 45th president. And 11, that's 4 plus 7. He was the 47th president. And what did he say again?
Much different than it, but I said, I'm never going to make it to heaven. I just don't think I qualify.
Oh, I wonder why he doesn't qualify. Maybe because he's been
already know.
down here with the rest of
he already knows.
For one worshipped higher.
He already knows.
And guess what?
If he don't know, I don't know who. He know the things that he has done.
I suppose it. And have you seen any other vaccine that was put out for the public that skipped the animal test?
Never before, especially for children.
And as what I've read, they actually started the animal test, and because the animals were dying, they stopped the test. Folks, I think that's important to understand there. That
what they
what
put
we're
in
talking
folk.
about is American people are now the guinea pigs. This is the test program that's going on. They didn't do the human testing, and they stopped the animal test because the animals were dying. And then they turned it out for the public. And we are now looking at businesses that want to mandate that this experimental vaccine be given to people as a condition of their employment. And yet we have this death count that continues to rise and be totally ignored.
I suppose it.
And have you seen any other vaccine?
Yeah, I understand. Once they saw what it was doing to humans. I mean, what they was doing to animals. Then they stopped the testing and gave it to humans. Hold on.
We're studying psychic phenomena. A man walks. What do you know about remote viewing? Russell Targ and Al Puthoff, physicists, scientists. We're studying psychic phenomena. A man walks in, his name is Ingo Swann. He's become a very famous psychic. So he walks in and says, I'm the best psychic in the world. Give me something hard to do. Send somebody out in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'll tell you where they are and what they see. They send somebody out. He just starts to kind of focus and concentrate, and he starts to draw. I see a water fountain, but there's no water in it. I see these circles on the ground. I see a building. Turns out he got it all right. They said, well, Ingo, where can you go? And he said, I can go anywhere. What got the CIA's attention was, at Stanford, buried deep underground was a magnetometer, and this was used to measure perturbations in the Earth's crust to detect nuclear explosions. It's buried underground. You can't get to it. Ingo is able to draw what it looks like, and he says, I could even move that needle. So he moves the needle. That needle moving means a nuclear explosion just went off somewhere. So the CIA government gets involved. What's going on? It's not a nuclear explosion. Oh, we're doing this program. And they say, you're doing what? They don't really care that he can move a needle. They're worried about he can see inside behind cement, and that means there's no more secrets. So the CIA starts funding this project. CIA analyst says, here are coordinates. Nobody knows what the coordinates are. And Ingo does his thing, and he says, I see a guard house. There's a radar, giant radar dish. It's a military installation. And the guy's like, it's not even close. I gave you the coordinates of my vacation house in West Virginia. Then they were like, so that didn't work. But Pat Price comes along. And Pat Price, maybe the most talented psychic to ever use the same location, sees the same things without knowing anything what Ingo saw. So SRI sends someone to the coordinates. They find the vacation and they found the log cabin.
Hold on.
Like, but there's a dirt road here.
Somebody else is, hey, Peter. Hey, come on in. Y'all please hit the like button as we enter in. What is going on? CNN. FBI is serving search warrants at the Los Angeles Unified School District's headquarters and the superintendent's home. Let me get to it. I just got a text, but let me see if I can pull it up. Let's pull it up. Breaking news. Breaking news. Where can I find this breaking news? Breaking news. Breaking news. Let me get to it. I just got the message.
Remember the first video on the internet? Or the 6-second beauty of Vines? Or this?
Breaking news right now, the FBI has raided LA Unified Superintendent Alberto Carvalho's home and LAUSD headquarters.
Gigi Gracia live with the very latest. Gigi.
That's right, and we can confirm that FBI agents are...
News here. You see there with the banner on the TV there that the FBI is serving some search warrants. This is at LAUSD home. The head of LAUSD District Superintendent Alberto Carvalho. His home is being searched. This is part of the FBI serving search warrants today. This is San Pedro. We do not what? Know exactly what this is. No immediate information as to the nature of this investigation, but it is fairly dramatic. You see a lot of activity here, a lot of news media there, but this is the FBI searching this. A spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office did confirm that law enforcement officials were serving what they're calling, quote, a judicially approved search warrant. They declined to provide any additional details. No immediate response to this request for comment from LAUSD. Now, we're also understanding that the office of the superintendent at the district's downtown headquarters was also being searched at this point. Carvalho has been superintendent of LAUSD, which is the nation's second largest school district, since February of 2022. He was reappointed to this post in September of 2025, just to give you a little background on that. He has previously served as superintendent of Miami-Dade County Public Schools in Florida, did that for 14 years before coming here. So this is Air 7's shot of this, and again, this is in San Pedro, and it is a very unusual sight to see. So you're looking
at the neighborhood here, and we're looking, kind of trying to figure out which house. You see a couple of people there with their cameras out. We do have Alex Stone on the phone, so that is going to be very helpful for us to try to figure out exactly what's going on here. Alex, it looks like they're keeping people on the other side of the street there. As we're looking at this shot, it seems as if there is crime scene tape keeping the onlookers on one side of the street as FBI is on the other side of the street. What in the world could this possibly be related to if you had to guess?
Well, yeah, we don't know yet, Philip, but it's that White House, and you'll see the neighbors have come out, and there's some cameras out there as well. And the FBI agents who were inside a few minutes ago, many of them have gotten in cars and have now left. So this was pretty quick as they went in and out. We don't know what it is. I was talking to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and they're only saying that this was court-approved activity by law enforcement to go in, but the case is under seal right now. We're trying to figure out what it would be and what it is, but they went in. It was pretty quick. There may still be FBI agents who are on scene right now doing a little bit of follow-up work, but it looks like they went in and they got out pretty quick.
Got in.
Well, also, just for our viewers to understand, you can't go in with a search warrant and just turn the place upside down. They have to be, that's a very specific search warrant that they're going to be looking at, correct? You're going to have to go in and look for something very, very specific. So that would to what you're saying about how quickly it went, you'd have to go in, look for something very specific, and then leave.
Yeah, based on the lack of force that appears was used, and again, we don't know what this is for yet, what they were targeting. You would think of a raid, and you think of the FBI SWAT team coming in and all that. That apparently did not go on here from what we know. It was some agents in what they call their raid jackets, those blue jackets with the FBI lettering on the back, who went in, and it looked like that they had some cardboard boxes and whatnot, and then got whatever they wanted to get. And then they left from there, and we understand that they're also going to the LAUSD headquarters to go to the superintendent's office there as well. So it seems that this was very targeted, what they were going in, knowing what they were looking for. Doesn't seem that this was any kind of a violent allegation of whatever this case is, because they did not go in with force. Again, we don't know at this point. But you think of all the other cases that have gone on at City Hall and in other departments in recent years where the FBI has gone in a very similar way with a couple of agents in their raid jackets looking for documents. Those were mainly, in the other cases, those were financial crimes. And this would indicate, based on how they're carrying this out, that maybe it is something of a financial nature, nonviolent nature, but we just don't know.
Well, the first thing that jumped out to me was the confrontational way that LAUSD and Carvalho has gone after the Trump administration when it comes to immigration. He has actively said that our schools will be safe places, and I just wonder if there's any kind of possibility that could be at play here, where there might be some sort of documents I just don't know. I mean, it's just I wonder what could be under seal, or how immigration could be at play here. But you mentioned financial. I hadn't really even thought of that. But
we don't know.
That
There's
could be
no
as well.
indication. We haven't seen Homeland Security investigations. We have not seen ICE, anything like that would indicate, or the Border Patrol, anything that would indicate that there is something immigration related here. But it could be. When things are under seal, and eventually, as we all know, that there will be leaks likely out of the case, and we'll begin to put it together. But when the court has sealed something, that quite often it is under a pretty
Did he say they already know they're going to have some leaks?
The seal that would be in these moments when they're executing search warrants, where it's hard to really know what's going on, and we're just reading the tea leaves. But as you look at the White Home here, that there's not a lot of activity there right now. It was a few minutes ago when the agents carrying cardboard boxes, they were going up the stairs and then coming back out and putting things into an Explorer, and then they drove away, that it was very quick. It seems that they knew what they were going to get. that whatever the federal search warrant was for, that it likely listed a couple of items. It could have been a computer, it could have been records of some kind, that they went in and they got it and they left. This was not moving in for a violent suspect like you would think of in the movies where they go in with the armored cars and they toss everything up and down. They clearly were going in for something to get it, and they got right out.
Well, another question from your perspective: can you read any tea leaves when it comes to the judge that the FBI goes to get a warrant? Because in many cases, we've talked about this as well. Sometimes you go to a sympathetic judge when you're asking for a search warrant. Do we know which court, what judge they went to, and can we read anything into that particular part of the situation here?
We don't know any of that yet because it is all under seal. We can't find the case at this point, and we're looking and going to try to find it, and hopefully we will find something. But sure, I mean, there is a way that if it was something that one judge might say no to, that another judge, I mean, that's just the way it works in the courts and law enforcement, where a judge that may give you the nod to go in. But in this case, we don't know what this is. Maybe any judge would have given the okay based on the evidence that the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office would have gone to a judge or a magistrate to get the warrant to go in. We just, at this point, there is such little information on what this case is. We haven't heard anything from the superintendent. We've reached out to LAUSD. They haven't said anything at this point, to my knowledge. And now you see that there are neighbors kind of hanging out, looking like that they're going, hey, what was going on here? What was this? And they don't know either, that the agents came in and then they quickly got out of there.
Well, Alex, thank you very much. Thanks for helping us. And Alex Stone with ABC News, trying to make sense of something that is going to make headlines, certainly here in Los Angeles, throughout the day, and until we can find out much more. We'll sure be looking for your reports throughout the day. Thanks, Alex. So, again, as Alex mentioned, they have been reaching out at ABC trying to figure out what this is. Here at ABC 7, we have also reached out to the FBI, the Department of Justice.
What do the Hardy Meatball, the Bold Italian, and every other Firehouse sub have in common? They're freshly prepared.
In fact, we are already halfway through the 10 at 10. I'm Amy Johnson.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Chris Holmstrom. All right, let's get to that update in breaking news. The FBI has searched the home of Superintendent Alberto Carvalho in the district headquarters.
Now, we are live at both locations. Let's start with Amanda Starantino in the Westlake District. Amanda.
Hey, good morning. Yes, we are at LAUSD headquarters where the FBI has confirmed they are serving what it calls a court-authorized search warrant here. So what I've seen so far here, though, not too many federal agents, so they might still be upstairs. What I did see was LA school police coming in just before 10 a.m. this morning. If you look up here, you see a lot of people just standing outside. These are a lot of employees that actually say they really
What you say? Another look over here? Oh.
Earlier this morning,
a diversion.
School police coming in, and shortly after, employees started coming out. Some of the staff members tell us they were asked to leave their offices so agents could search inside. They say they weren't given much information, just told they needed to step out while law enforcement conducted its work here. The FBI provided us with a brief statement saying, quote, the FBI is serving a court-authorized warrant. However, the affidavit in support of the warrant has been sealed by the court, and we therefore have no further comment. Okay, so what does this mean?
Hold on.
We don't know what prompted this search because that affidavit is under seal. The details behind that warrant, not public. It's also unclear whether investigators have taken anything out of the building. I have not seen anything taken out of the building from our location here. We have reached out to LAUSD for comment, but so far we have not heard back. But again, this is still developing and we're continuing to gather information. I'm waiting to hear back from federal authorities, also from Carvalho himself, about what exactly is happening here, what floor it's on, and what is being searched and what exactly they are looking for. But another warrant is being served in San Pedro, and that's where we can find Tina Patel with that. Tina.
Amanda, we're talking to a neighbor about Alberto Carvalho right now. He's talking about what he saw this morning. Let's listen in.
You know, when I get up at 5, so it didn't wake me up, but at the same time, I commented on, I thought it was a medical emergency. I said, why would you spring a siren? I think they're just trying to create a uproar and a diversion from what's going on.
You're saying they had their guns drawn at that time, right before 6 a.m.?
Yeah, they had a guy, and they cuffed somebody. I couldn't tell from the thing, but they cuffed somebody. So it's sort of like developing the perp walk, and it just seemed like it extremely convenient for this to go on. I understand. I talked to some of my neighbors, and they're like going, "Oh, they can't do this in a day." Well, the Olympics were a few days ago, and I'd say, well, I just looked. I didn't get out because they put a siren saying that, you know, don't everybody stay in your house, or told somebody to stay in their house. But the idea was that I saw at least 5, 6 that were parked in front of my house, and one house above. But it chapped my hide. We just went for a walk, and my wife doesn't want to talk or whatever it is. But it just chapped my hide that this somehow occurred. He's not been a threatening guy. We've had our arguments, but at the same time, he doesn't deserve this. You know, if he did something wrong, there's a due process, and that's part of the problem. They don't, everybody gets convicted before they do anything.
Sounds like it disrupted the whole neighborhood.
Yeah. I saw a gentleman from the behind getting cuffed and put into a vehicle. I don't know if it was him. It, you know, could have been. It just, you know, I went out and I came back, and all you guys are here with the helicopters and what have you. It just, I've done enough. I used to be a union rep. I've done enough stuff. I've represented public employees. I just, if he sees anything, I want him to know that he's been a good neighbor, and I just don't think he deserved all this. I mean, the neighborhood's good enough, but
as a neighbor, you've had some disagreements, though, you said.
he doesn't like my tree being so big. But, you know, so I met his wife or girlfriend, I don't know, his, you know, significant other, and I had no problem, you know, but I just talked to him a couple of days ago, and I was listening to the news, and I think it's important to see that the AP scores have gone up. And, you know, there's a lot of good things that, you know, I get complimented on what he's doing, because I used to be on the LUSD health board and all this other stuff, so I'm familiar with a lot of the shenanigans, but I've been retired for a while, so. 2 doors, that lit palm trees. Is John Schaefer.
Guys, I'm going to tell you, this is John Schaefer. He lives 2 doors down from the superintendent. And what he told us and what another neighbor told us is that before 6 a.m., there was a number of FBI and federal agents that came here to this home. They said that they had their guns drawn, and they went into the home and made a lot of noise, woke a number of people up in the neighborhood, but then told those neighbors to go back into their home. The one woman who lives next door told us that she did see Superintendent Carvalho and his significant other being taken out of the home at one point. They were still wearing the clothes that they were sleeping in. She believes that they may have gotten back in and gotten changed, but she doesn't know if they're still in that home or not. But then a little bit later, we have some video from earlier this morning that actually shows FBI agents.
You know, don't everybody stay in your house, or told somebody to stay in their house.
We are at LAUSD headquarters, where the FBI has confirmed they are serving what it calls a court-authorized search warrant here. So what I've seen so far here, though, not too many federal agents, so they might still be upstairs. What I did see was LA school police coming in just before 10 a.m. this morning. If you look up here, you see a lot of people just standing outside. These are a lot of employees that actually say they really actually don't know what's going on. They said they haven't been disrupted yet. But all of things started unfolding earlier this morning. We saw the LA school police coming in, and shortly after, employees started coming out. Several staff members tell us they were asked to leave their offices so agents could search inside. They say they weren't given much information, just told they needed to step out while law enforcement conducted its work here. The FBI provided us with a brief statement saying, quote, "The FBI is serving a court-authorized warrant. However, the affidavit in support of the warrant has been sealed by the court, and we therefore have no further comment." Okay, so what does this mean right now? We don't know what prompted this search because that affidavit is under seal. The details behind that warrant, not public. It's also unclear whether investigators have taken anything out of the building. I have not seen anything taken out of the building from our location here. We have reached out to LAUSD for comment, but so far we have not heard back. But again, this is still developing, and we're continuing to gather information. I'm waiting to hear back from federal authorities, also from Carvalho himself, about what exactly is happening here, what floor it's on, and what is being searched and what exactly they are looking for. But another warrant is being served in San Pedro, and that's where we can find Tina Patel with that. Tina.
Amanda, we're talking to a neighbor of Alberto Carvalho right now. He's talking about what he saw this morning. Let's listen in.
You know, when I get up at 5, so it didn't like wake me up, but at the same time, like going, I commented, I thought it was a medical emergency. I said, why would you, spring a siren? I think they're just trying to create a uproar and a diversion from what's going on.
And you're saying they had their guns drawn at that time, right before 6 a.m.?
Yeah, they had a guy, and they cuffed somebody. I couldn't tell from the thing, but they cuffed somebody. So it was sort of like developing the perp walk, and it just seemed like it's extremely convenient for this to go on. I understand. I talked to some of my neighbors, and they're like going, "Oh, they can't do this in a day." Well, the Olympics were a few days ago, and I'd say, well, I just looked. I didn't get out because they put a siren saying that, don't everybody stay in your house, or told somebody to stay in their house. But the idea was that I saw at least 5, 6. They were parked in front of my house and one house above. But it chapped my hide. We just went for a walk, and my wife doesn't want to talk or whatever it is. But it just chapped my hide that this somehow occurred. He's not been a threatening guy. We've had our arguments, but at the same time, he doesn't deserve this. If he did something wrong, there's a due process, and that's part of the problem. Everybody gets convicted before they do anything.
Sounds like it disrupted the whole neighborhood.
Huh? I saw a gentleman from the behind getting cuffed and put into a vehicle. I don't know if it was him. It could have been. It just, I went out and I came back, and all you guys are here with the helicopters and what have you. It just, I've done enough. I used to be a union rep. I've done enough stuff. I've represented public employees. If he sees anything, I want him to know that he's been a good neighbor, and I just don't think he deserved all this. I mean, the neighborhood's good enough, but
As a neighbor, you've had some disagreements, though, you said.
he doesn't like my tree being so big. But, so I met I think his wife or girlfriend, I don't know, his, significant other, and I had no problem, but I just talked to him a couple of days ago, and I was listening to the news, and I think it's important to see that the AP scores have gone up. And, there's a lot of good things that, I get complimented on what he's doing, because I used to be on the LUSD health board and all this other stuff, so I'm familiar with a lot of the shenanigans, but I've been retired for a while, so.
You live right next door?
2 doors, with the palm trees. Yes. John Schaefer.
Guys, I'm going to tell you, this is John Schaefer. He lives 2 doors down from Superintendent. And what he told us and what another neighbor told us is that before 6 a.m., there was a number of FBI and federal agents that came here to this home. They said that they had their guns drawn, and they went into the home, and
it wasn't minor.
People up in the neighborhood, but then told those neighbors to go back into their home. The one woman who lives next door told us that she did see Superintendent Carvalho and his significant other being taken out of the home at one point. They were still wearing the clothes that they were sleeping in. She believes that they may have gotten back in and gotten changed, but she doesn't know if they're still in that home or not. But then a little bit later, we have some video from earlier this morning that actually shows FBI agents taking several boxes of material out of the home. We assume that that is some kind of evidence, but we don't know exactly what was taken out of the home. Again, they spent several hours here before they left, but we don't know exactly the details. All that the FBI has confirmed to us is that they were serving a court-authorized bill wearing the clothes that they were sleeping in. She believes that they may have gotten back in and gotten changed, but she doesn't know if they're still in that home or not. But then a little bit later, we have some video from earlier this morning that actually shows FBI agents taking several boxes of material out of the home. We assume that that is some kind of evidence, but we don't know exactly what was taken out of the home. Again, they spent several hours here before they left, but we don't know exactly the details. All that the FBI has confirmed to us is that they were serving a court-authorized warrant, and what they told us is that a warrant was sealed the affidavit was sealed, so they said they couldn't comment on the exact specifics of this investigation. But as we come back out here live again, this has attracted a lot of attention in the neighborhood. Carvalho has been superintendent of LAUSD for about 4 years, and people who live in this neighborhood said he's mostly been very private, kind of stuck to himself. A few people know him, but he really doesn't create much controversy in the neighborhood. So it was a big shock to them to wake up this morning, see all these federal agents with guns executing this search warrant. And so, of course, a lot of questions about what this all was about and what is going to happen now. But unfortunately, right now, we don't have those answers. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Tina, thank you. And be sure to stay with CBS LA for the latest on this breaking story. Of course, we will have another live update ahead at the top of the hour.
Don't wear these perfumes if you don't like compliments. Everyone has been talking
Hold
about
on,
all
y'all.
of these perfumes, but honestly,
Have several other breaking news stories that we've been bringing you at this hour. Let's take you back out to Los Angeles here as you are taking a live look from our Fox chopper as we brought you
Maybe
a short
it was
time ago
fraud.
this news that federal authorities are descending upon multiple Los Angeles locations this morning, as you can see there, executing search warrants at both the primary
What's
administrative
his
offices
name?
of
I
the
need his
nation's
name
second
again.
largest school
Hold
district
on.
and the private residence of its top official, Los Angeles Unified School District Superintendent Alberto Carvalho. What we do know right now, the FBI and Department of Justice both confirming that agents are serving court-authorized warrants at Carvalho's office at LAUSD headquarters in downtown Los Angeles and his home there in San Pedro. So you are taking that live look there outside the home. Skyfox over that home right now where multiple FBI agents are seen going in and out of this
I need for y'all to hit the like button. I have 216
items.
people
At one
listening
point, a
in.
neighbor with luggage
Please
in tow
double
was
tap the 3
escorted down
dots at the
sidewalk
top.
by authorities. I did want to share with you just some of the coverage from our Fox
Please double
headquarters in
double
downtown
tap.
Los Angeles and his home there in San Pedro. So you are taking that live look there outside the home. Skyfox over that home right now where multiple FBI agents are seen going in and out of this residence carrying boxes of unspecified items. At one point, a neighbor with luggage in tow was escorted down the sidewalk by authorities. I did want to share with you just some of the coverage from our Fox 11 LA team just moments ago.
Mayor standing by outside Alberto Carvalho's home. Let's go to Mario right now. Mario, tell us what you're seeing.
Yeah, Roxy and Sandra, we've been watching FBI agents coming in and out of the home here in San Pedro, carrying out, you may have seen it earlier, cardboard boxes. We saw one FBI agent rolling out a suitcase of luggage is what it looked like, another carrying a backpack. So we're not sure what evidence is being collected here from this home, but we can tell you that the warrant was confirmed by federal officials. No affidavit details have been released because they have been sealed by the court, and the FBI said they have no further comment at this time. So photographer Howard Wells is taking you just down the sidewalk here as we wait for more activity, and you can see those federal agents. Now, according to sources, the warrant was executed this morning on both this residential address here on South Parker Street in San Pedro, as well as an office location where Gigi was at just a short time ago, LAUSD headquarters on South Beaudry Avenue downtown. At this point, those locations have been confirmed by federal officials as the sites where warrants have been served, but details about any arrest charges or investigations haven't been confirmed. The FBI telling us they are serving a court by the court, and the FBI said they have no further comment at this time. So photographer Howard Wells is taking you just down the sidewalk here as we wait for more activity, and you can see those federal agents. Now, according to sources, the warrant was executed this morning on both this residential address here on South Parker Street in San Pedro, as well as an office location where Gigi was at just a short time ago, LAUSD headquarters on South Beaudry Avenue downtown. At this point, those locations have been confirmed by federal officials as the sites where warrants have been served, but details about any arrest charges or investigations haven't been confirmed. The FBI telling us they are serving a court-authorized warrant here, but because, again, the affidavit is sealed, they can't discuss any details of the investigation. And I want to break down, as we're watching more of these FBI agents coming out of Carvalho's home here in San Pedro, what we know about Carvalho. We can tell you that he is the current superintendent of LA Unified School District, the second largest public school system in the U.S., serving more than 500,000 students across the county. And he was unanimously selected by the LAUSD Board of Education back in February of 2022, and that followed a national search. Now, we can tell you you before coming here to Los Angeles, he led Miami-Dade County Public Schools, one of the largest school systems in America, for 14 years, earning multiple National Education Leadership Awards. And again, we have no confirmed information at this time that he's been charged with any crime. We've not received official statements from his office or the LAUSD board, and we're still looking for comment from the FBI Los Angeles field office, LAUSD, and Carvalho's representatives. So not a lot of information, but again, this is the scene unfolding outside his San Pedro home. So we've counted at least half a dozen FBI agents, again, going in and out of this location here, coming out with stacks of cardboard boxes, as well as bags and what appears to be a luggage or two of evidence. That's the latest here from what we can see on the ground in San Pedro for now. We'll go ahead and send it back to you.
It looks like a quiet morning in the sense that I'm not seeing people out and about or any neighbors. What are you seeing as far as the neighborhood's concerned?
Yeah, you know, it is interesting, Araxia, because I did talk to one neighbor as we're still seeing some FBI agents coming out of the home. I talked to a neighbor right next door. They didn't really know what was going on, only seeing what we were showing you here, the FBI agents coming in and out, and we can tell you that it is a very quiet neighborhood other than this activity that we're seeing here. We pulled up and really didn't think there were any agents, no official vehicles here with any signage. And again, they're not releasing any details, but let's see. Is any comment that you all can give us about what's happening?
Can't give any comment right now. You can contact the main FBI.
No comment. Contact the main FBI office. Thank you so much. So, all right, yeah, that's what we're seeing here. Very tight-lipped about this ongoing search warrant being served here in San Pedro.
Busy scene.
And thank you to our Fox 11 LA team. Of course, we'll continue to cover this story here for you on Live Now Fox, bringing you any updates. We are stepping away for our final break of the hour. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Let me see what. Okay, hold on. Oh, I'm trying to dig a little. Wow. What?
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. As we continue to cover President Trump's State of the Union, we're joined now by Alia Rahman, who attended the speech as a guest of Minneapolis Congressmember Ilhan Omar. Last month, federal immigration officers in Minneapolis violently dragged Alia out of her car. She told agents she was disabled, that she had a brain injury, but they ignored her pleas for medical attention. She had been headed to a doctor's appointment when she was dragged out of her car. Video of the incident went viral. Last month, she testified at a hearing held by congressional Democrats in Capitol Hill.
I was carried face down through the street by my cuffed arms and legs while yelling that I had a brain injury and was disabled. I now cannot lift my arms normally. I was never asked for ID, never told I was under arrest, never read my rights, and never charged with a crime.
That was Alia Rahman testifying on Capitol Hill. Last night, she was removed from the gallery at the State of the Union, then arrested and jailed. She got out at like 4 o'clock this morning.
What was she arrested for?
Welcome back to Democracy Now! Tell us what you went through last night, and then what happened to you in Minneapolis.
Thanks for having me back, Amy. Yeah, the reason I am wearing the same outfit I was at the State of the Union.
Testifying on Capitol Hill. Last night, she was removed from the gallery at the State of the Union, then arrested and jailed. She got out at like 4 o'clock this morning. Alia, welcome back to Democracy Now! Tell us what you went through last night, and then what happened to you in Minneapolis.
Thanks for having me back, Amy. Yeah, the reason I am wearing the same outfit I was at the State of the Union, and in the media I did with Representative Omar, I was a guest of Representative Ilhan Omar's, is because I got out from a hospital visit and the custody of Capitol Police just before 4 a.m. And I had already been scheduled to talk to you, so I figured I would come and tell folks what happened. I was not just removed and arrested. I was arrested so physically that 2 other attendees upstairs attempted to intervene.
But you're not telling us why you was arrested.
On my shoulders after I told them I have a torn rotator cuff tendon and multiple cartilage tears in both of my shoulders. That is what happened.
Okay, now, no disrespect, but we need to know why you were arrested, not what they did. Why were you arrested, and why are you avoiding telling us why you were arrested? I need that to come out your mouth. Yeah, because right now it just sounded like it was staged, and you... Why were you arrested?
Folks, what happened? I was not just removed and arrested. I was arrested so physically that 2 other attendees upstairs attempted to intervene.
Oh, you better than me, Peter.
On my shoulders after I told them I have a torn rotator cuff tendon.
Ma'am, no disrespect, but if you are already injured in why were you there? Why were you there? I need for that instead of telling us your injuries, because if you were injured, you should have been at home.
And multiple cartilage tears in both of my shoulders. That is what happened in the audio you just played. That is why I cannot lift my arms normally. 2 women in the gallery, and thank you to the woman in the white shirt with the red writing who said, I need you to take your hands off of her and just let her walk with her cane. They did not do that, and only when their own sergeant intervened in a back stairwell of that building to say, stop, we need to get her medical care and a wheelchair.
Why were you arrested?
They stopped tugging on me, while again I was saying disabled. Amy, would you like to know why I was told that I was removed and arrested?
Okay, come on.
The sergeant of arms told me it was because I was standing up, silently. No buttons, no facial expressions, no gestures, no signs, not one sound. Standing up. There are only 2 things you can do at the State of the Union, and they are sit down and stand up. All kinds of people were standing up all night, me too. I stood up at the moment that I heard this man say some of the most racist things I have heard come out of any leader's mouth about the people of my city, and continue to trash talk my state of Minnesota and glorify DHS, the people who did this to me and who are being allowed to roam free on the streets.
If you could very quickly, I'm so sorry this happened to you, but explain why you have a torn rotator cuff, why you have tendons ripped in both shoulders.
I have a tendon ripped in one shoulder, and then in that same shoulder another cartilage rip, and in my left shoulder 2 cartilage tears with what my doctor called ragged pieces of tissue hanging in the joint that may need to be operated on. That happened because in the audio you played, I was talking about when I was pulled out of my car. Most people see the first part of that video. I was put on the ground behind my car, cuffed behind my back, and then carried through the street. Face down, I was lifted up by my wrists and ankles with my hands already cuffed behind my back. And then once I was in the Whipple Center, instead of getting me a walking aid because I'm disabled, they just jerked me around by my shoulders for a while. So that's what I'm dealing with. That's what I came here with. And I really wonder if these folks have noticed yet that every time you try to break my body, you fuel my spirit. I was arrested for standing up. This administration wins 0 prizes for their command of metaphors, my friend. The reason I stood up at that moment was not to disrupt anything. I was silent, arms by my side. I stood up because hearing this level of racism, I wanted to see with my own eyes, unmediated by anyone's lens, who had still come to this building to govern, if there were any grown-ups down there. Who really believes this lie that was used to brutalize our city, my body? And if unchecked, this is the lie that will be used to brutalize communities of color, all sorts of communities, as people in this country, as black folks, indigenous folks, as this has happened for centuries based on lies. And you know what?
That's true.
I can't think of ever a time that someone has been very physically arrested or arrested at all or even removed for silently standing up at the State of the Union. That is what you do. The only reason I can think that they thought me standing silently there was a protest is because by this point, my body, unafraid, even if broken, standing and looking at these people in their face, well, that must be a protest to you.
You know, I wonder if there's a charge standing without applauding, because certainly Republicans stood up dozens of times throughout President Trump's State of the Union and applauded. But
yes,
you
Amy,
stood
and
silently.
actually the moment that they physically started removing me by my shoulders, all kinds of Republicans were standing up. I know they were Republicans because who was seated next to me? Sheriff, Coffee County, Alabama, and the mayor of, one of the mayors from Nevada.
This is just outrageous, y'all.
None of them were arrested. I was much quieter than them.
Well, Alia Rahman, I want to thank you so much for being with us. Arrested at the State of the Union last night, just got out a few hours before this broadcast came right to the studio. Alia was a guest of Representative Ilhan Omar. Last month, federal immigration agents in Minneapolis violently dragged her out of her car as she told them she was disabled. Video of the incident went viral. We'll also link to our previous conversation with her after that attack.
Introducing the Score Bet.
Oh, no.
For Sunday, Monday, or any day that ends in Y. We're with you every game.
The longest and most divisive State of the Union exemplified the Carl Sandburg quote, if the law is against you, argue the facts.
Yeah, it is just getting horrible. But yeah, I think it may, Mrs. Tom, you said distraction. Yeah, because, woo, because the evidence is coming out. More than just Midas is talking about it, baby, because baby girl pointed Trump out and that paperwork is missing from the Epstein files. Absolutely. Hold on.
All right, joining us now to discuss a whole range of issues because he seems to be at the forefront of many of them is Congressman Ro Khanna. Great to see you, sir.
Great to be back on.
Yeah, of course. So let's start with some intra-Democratic Party stuff, shall we? Let's put D1 up on the screen. The Democratic Party went through the trouble of doing an autopsy report after Kamala Harris loses to Donald Trump. And then after doing all of that work, they said, you know what, we're actually not going to put that one out. Now we're getting some insight into potentially why they are so reticent to put this information out into the public. Contained in this secret report, they did find that Kamala Harris's commitment to the Gaza genocide policy effectuated under the Biden-Harris administration did in fact cost her votes. That I don't think will be a surprise to many people watching this show. But the fact that the DNC has this information and doesn't want to release it to the public, I think is pretty revealing.
Well, it's totally unacceptable. I called last night
for Ken Martin and the DNC to release this report. We need to know the hard truths about the genocide in Gaza and how the United States' role in preventing to stop that had an impact, not just on foreign policy, but on our party. And we need a new moral direction for our party. But I just don't understand the rationale for having a report that finds out why you lost and then hiding it. How can we run as the transparency party, as the party that is going to govern differently and not in secrecy, if we aren't willing to release things like the DNC report?
Well, I think it connects a little bit to what is currently happening right now, sir. So you're currently working on this war powers resolution regarding potential military action on Iran. It's really only you, a few other Democrats who have spoken out against this, but we've seen no organized effort despite the tremendous unpopularity of this war. Why do you think that that is?
Well, they're powerful interests that are itching to have regime change in Iran. I mean, they organized 100 people to protest me at my town hall back home.
I watched it.
They have people who are threatening in terms of donors and finances. I mean, look, this has been a long-term goal of AIPAC and other groups to have regime change in Iran. And so, you know, when you stand up and say, I'm going to introduce legislation to uphold the Constitution and not get us into another war, you make enemies. And I think that there's a reason that most people just duck these issues. There's a reason most people don't want to say, okay, we'll release the DNC report, or there's genocide in Gaza, or we shouldn't be getting into a war in Iran and let's do a war powers resolution, or let's take on the Epstein class. It's not that they may disagree with it. It's just they don't want billionaires and powerful people to be targeting them.
Ryan actually reported over at Dropsite News that some of the thinking inside of at least the Senate Democratic caucus is effectively like, some of them effectively like low-key support Iranian regime change and are hawkish on the topic. They know that politically, where the base of the party is, they could never outright support that. At the same time, they think that if Trump does get into a war with Iran, and this is just like the most cynical possible view, they think that would be bad for him politically. So they've made the choice to just sort of stay silent and let this thing march on. I mean, are you hearing or seeing any of that logic within the Democratic caucus or your Democratic colleagues?
Well, we have a meeting tomorrow to try to corral support from the caucus. The reality is, I was ready to introduce the resolution on Monday. We wouldn't have had the votes, and I do think that we are getting to the place where we will have the votes by early next week. But it's taking work, and it's taking work to say, look, we are going to put people on record, and you don't want to be on record saying that you support another war in the Middle East. But there are a lot of people in Congress, Republicans and Democrats, who just would prefer these issues go away. They don't want to stick their necks out and offend people in powerful places.
Yeah, well, and if we can put D3 up on the screen. Some of them are willing to stick their necks out, but on behalf of going to war in Iran. I believe they called your War Powers Resolution the Ayatollah Protection Act was, I think, the terminology that was used here. So these are like the anti-Massey and Khanna bipartisan duo. You've got Josh Gottheimer and Mike Lawler. They're going to oppose your War Powers Resolution. What do the numbers look like right now? How many Democrats in particular are going to join in active opposition of your War Powers Resolution, which, by the way, is insane? I mean, this is literally just about taking control as Congress and saying, at the very least, if you want to do this, which I think everybody here is opposed to them doing it all, but if you want to do this, you've at least got to come and make the case to us.
Exactly. I mean, it's not even taking a substantive view on the issue itself. I mean, I oppose the war in Iran, but this is simply saying that before you do this, you got to come to Congress. And I challenged Representative Gottheimer and Representative Lawler to debate Representative Massey and me. We could do it on breaking points. I mean, they just hide behind these press releases instead of having an argument. I want them to explain to the American public why they think we should have 2 aircraft carriers near Iran, why they want us to get into a war with a 90 million person country, why they want our money going there and our troops being put at risk there instead of creating jobs here at home and spending on health care here at home. But they don't want to have that conversation. So this is why we have to work hard to unify our Democratic caucus. I ultimately think Gladheimer's position is going to be a fringe position, that we can get the vast majority of the caucus behind us, and then we need a few Republicans. But then they achieved their goal of slowing this down by putting that out so that we couldn't call the vote up on Monday, because I don't want to vote where we lose 20, 30 Democrats.
Yeah. You know, I was reflecting too, we were talking this morning, all these leaks coming out of the Pentagon. I compared it to the Iraq War, General Eric Shinseki, except this time around, you know, there's no Pentagon testimony before the United States Congress. I haven't seen any calls, even for some of the explanation on Iran, let alone war powers, that you are advancing. Have you seen any development on that to try and get some of these public officials to answer questions in a public forum to explain it to the American people and to our legislators?
Zagar, it's an excellent point. Look, the Iraq War was one of the greatest blunders of American foreign policy, but you have to give George W. Bush at least credit that he came to Congress and he sought authorization, and he sent Colin Powell to the UN, and he sought to make a case to the UN, and he followed, at least in the U.S., the constitutional process. Now, there are a lot of people who lost their political careers because they voted for that war in Iraq. I believe that's why Hillary Clinton never became president. I believe that's why John Kerry never became president. I believe that's why Jeb Bush never became president. But there was a process. Here, you don't even have Donald Trump coming to Congress and saying, I want to go to Iran.
He don't want
give us
nobody
the
to
votes.
say no.
And the irony is he may be able to make the case. I mean, he's got enough hawks like Lindsey Graham there, but let's
Thank
at
you,
least
Peter.
have that debate. And that people should be supporting Massey and my war powers resolution simply for the sake of standing up for the dignity and institutional integrity of Congress and not being a doormat.
Yeah, but your point there about the various politicians whose political careers suffered because of that vote on Iraq, that's exactly why they don't want to do it, because they learned that lesson. Let's just not say anything. Let's let them do whatever. Our hands will be clean, because we don't want to have any accountability after the fact if this goes sideways. That's what's really going on here. But I want to turn to the State of the Union tonight. I want to turn to some new developments in terms of the Epstein cover-up, which, again, another issue that opposing that cover-up and trying to bring transparency, you've been really at the forefront of. Let's go ahead and put D0 up on the screen. This is some new reporting that just broke from NPR. The headline here is Justice Department withheld and removed some Epstein files related to Trump. Effectively, they're confirming and adding on to the reporting of independent journalist Roger Sullenberger, who talked about how you had two different women who made allegations involving Trump. One of them, both of them, the allegations come from a time when they were 13 years old. One of them directly alleges that Trump sexually assaulted her. That girl was interviewed 4 times by the FBI. So we know some of the tips that came in, that were the most salacious against Trump. They just came in through the FBI anonymous tip line. And so people said, okay, well, these may be found not to be credible. These might have been, people who were nefarious or crazy or whatever. This one in particular, though, they took seriously enough to have interviewed her 4 different times. That interview material and also information regarding this other allegation that, he had been there with Epstein, and Epstein said, oh, isn't this a good one? Again, when she's 13 years old, and they're both sort of smirking and joking about it. That information also not contained in the release. However, who does have access to that information? Ghislaine Maxwell, who through the discovery process of her trial was able to obtain the transcripts and the information around these interviews conducted by the FBI. Congressman, is there any legitimate reason why this material is being withheld from the public, or is this in violation of the law that was passed through Congress and signed into law by the president himself?
It's not just a violation, it's a blatant violation. The law says that particularly with political figures, there has to be full disclosure and full transparency, and that you cannot consider reputational harm. These files should have been released. These files should not be redacted. And my concern is 2 things. What have they redacted? What have they kept? And 2,
one of them is the House leader.
Blanked out.
What is Jim Jordan?
Permanently.
He one of the people.
That it's going to be hard for even the next administration to get to the truth.
Yeah.
But obviously now people are realizing there was a
one of them is
DOJ.
Jim Jordan.
They're protecting people in the Trump administration, including possibly Donald Trump, and they're protecting a lot of rich and powerful predators who abuse these young girls. And while the rest of the world is prosecuting them, in UK, they are prosecuting Lord Mendelsohn and the former prince. In Norway, they're prosecuting the former prime minister. In France, they're prosecuting politicians and business leaders. In the United States, we're sitting on our hands.
Yeah, I just think it's so stunning looking at the comparison, which we talked about the last time around. We have, hosts on CBS News who are facing more accountability than people in our own government. That was my last question for you. I know that you're bringing an Epstein survivor as one of the guests of the State of the Union. Just want to get you the opportunity to talk about that.
Haley Robeson is extraordinary. She is a survivor. She was a Trump voter. She came twice to the press conferences appealing to Donald Trump to just release these files to see justice. Now what many of these survivors are saying is are prosecuting Lord Mendelsohn and the former prince. In Norway, they're prosecuting the former prime minister. In France, they're prosecuting politicians and business leaders. In the United States, we're sitting on our hands.
Yeah, I just think it's so stunning looking at the comparison, which we talked about. Of hosts on CBS News who are facing more accountability than people in our own government. That was my last question for you. I know that you're bringing an Epstein survivor as one of the guests of the State of the Union. Just want to get you the opportunity to talk about that.
Haley Robeson is extraordinary.
Haley.
She is a survivor. She was a Trump voter. She came twice to the press conferences appealing to Donald Trump to just release these files to see justice. Now what many of these survivors are saying is some of their rapists are in the files. They're less concerned about even the release of the remaining 50% of the files, and they're more concerned about why no one is investigating these people. Why are there no prosecutions? Why is it that someone like Les Wexner, who we know had alleged hundreds of millions of dollars of ties to Epstein, why is it that the DOJ has never interviewed him, that the FBI has never interviewed him, that he's never been investigated under oath by our law enforcement agencies? You have two tiers of justice in America. One tier of justice for ordinary Americans and another tier of justice for rich and powerful people who are above the law. That's why I've called them the Epstein class. We need to prosecute them. We need to hold them accountable. And right now we're doing the least of anywhere in the world. The last point I'll say, it's two American congresspeople, Thomas Massie and me, that exposed all of this. And yet America is doing the least and the rest of the world is acting far more. That's the irony here.
Yeah, such a great point. Congressman, thank you so much. I know you also had an AI event with Bernie Sanders. We want to talk to you more.
Okay, let me see. One more defeated given 45 minutes ago. Let's see. It's coming out.
Hear that sound? That's another prosecution of Donald Trump's political critics being dropped because he just can't get grand juries to agree to indict his political critics exercising their First Amendment rights. Now you can add to that 6 members of Congress, including 2 senators, Senator Kelly and Senator Slotkin, who Donald Trump and his Department of Justice tried to prosecute under a little-known statute that we're going to explore here, 18 USC 2387, because they made a video to remind the American military, of which they were a part, to don't give up the ship and don't follow illegal, unconstitutional orders. You have a sworn oath not to do that, and it violates the Code of Military Justice and the Nuremberg Principles.
Oh, wow. I did that. My bad. I'm sorry. Can y'all hit the like button for me? Just double tap those 3 dots at the top right corner. Those 3 dots up there in that corner. I would greatly appreciate it. Or double tap the face of your screen.
In history, universally panned as just being absolutely horrible in every regards. Look at all those empty seats. Yeah, Donald Trump was panicking. So was the MAGA Republican establishment. So was state regime media. I mean, Midas Touch Network led all
I've already
news
did this one.
in terms of...
I've already hit that one. Hold on. Trying to get back up. The missing files.
Even America.
Yeah. Shout out to Ben
Democrats
Mercedes.
also being led by some MAGA Republicans. Donald Trump's dark past is surfacing, as is the dark past of other MAGA Republicans in Congress, or frankly, any member of Congress who has engaged in despicable conduct that they were trying to sweep under the rug. One thing that we're seeing happen right now is, on a bipartisan basis, some Republicans and Democrats also being led by some MAGA Republican female leaders like Anna Paulina Luna, Nancy Mace, and even Lauren Boebert are supporting a resolution that would publish all of the sexual harassment settlements and allegations that have been made against members of Congress, especially where hush money payments were made in order to do secret confidential settlements. And so we caught up with a number of these MAGA Republicans on Capitol Hill during the State of the Union in order to ask them about this resolution, and it's being supported by Democrats too. We could see another discharge petition on this as well. Now, while Donald Trump was giving that State of the Union, of course, there were empty seats everywhere, and that's all that everybody's talking about now as well. The highly successful Midas Touch Network boycott of the State of the Union, 70-plus members in the House and in the Senate boycotted. They joined the Midas Touch event. What a historic night that was to spend that time together. But there were, inside the House chambers, a number of Epstein survivors who were there, and they had a powerful message for Donald Trump with their presence. They wore the butterfly pins in honor of Virginia Giuffre, who died by suicide. She worked at Mar-a-Lago when she was underage, and she was sex trafficked out of Mar-a-Lago by Epstein.
He sold her.
And then you also
She
had
just didn't realize
survivors wearing teal scarves last night as well. This came at the same time where we learned about additional cover-up by the Department of Justice of the Epstein files, specifically regarding accusations by underage children against Donald Trump that are still being covered up right now.
Absolutely.
There was great reporting originally by Roger Sullenberger on this. Then PBS did some good reporting, and the House Oversight Dems did some great work on this. Give credit where credit is due to the great work they've all done. Here's what the Oversight Dems posted last night, right before Donald Trump was giving that State of the Disaster.
This is the cover-up, Ms. Tom.
For the last few weeks, Oversight Democrats have been investigating the FBI's handling of allegations from 2019 of sexual assault on a minor against Donald Trump by a survivor. Oversight Democrats can confirm the DOJ appears to have illegally withheld FBI interviews with this survivor. Covering up direct evidence of a potential assault by Donald Trump is the most serious possible crime in this White House cover-up, they go on to write. Here's what NPR's investigation detailed. Hat tip to Stephen Fowler. An NPR investigation finds the public database of Epstein files is missing dozens of pages related to sexual abuse accusations against Donald Trump. Other documents that mention Trump have also been taken down. A few of them have been restored after they were called out by NPR, by Roger Sullenberger, and by the Midas Touch and others, and Aaron Parnas, for example. But here's what the report explains. There appears to be at least 50 pages of FBI interviews regarding a specific survivor who accused Donald Trump of sexual abuse when she was a minor. That document is being covered up. NPR reviewed multiple sets of unique serial numbers. We call them, in legal jargon, we call them Bates numbers, appearing before and after the pages in question, stamped onto the documents. And you can see in this latest tranche of documents that there are just dozens and dozens of these Bates numbers that are missing. These serial numbers, as they're calling it here, they are absolutely missing. And so, by the way, there are still 50 terabytes of documents that are missing as well, and which means there's probably 50 million, 100 million records that have not been produced. And we believe, and our sources also tell us as well, that there are far more devastating information.
Far
and
more
documents
devastating.
that are being concealed by Donald Trump. As Congressmember Garcia posted, this is the manifest document in the files. The highlighted documents you see there are what is missing. So let's just contrast for a moment what our DOJ is doing and say what they're doing in other countries, right? As you know, in the UK, Peter Mandelson, who went by the name Lord Peter Mandelson, the former UK ambassador to the United States, he's been arrested in connection with his connections to Epstein. You have Andrew Mountbatten, who's to be Prince Andrew. He was arrested in connection with his connections to Epstein and everything we saw in the files there. In Poland, they just dropped a bombshell, as Bethany O'Leary explains. They are forming a full task force to rip through the Epstein files and are preparing to launch their own independent investigation. Special prosecutors are on the case, and anybody who's associated with it in Poland will be uncovered. No stone will be left unturned, is what the Polish officials are saying. Polish officials say they are not satisfied with the watered-down U.S. releases and now officially view the Epstein files as a direct threat to Poland's national security. Thus, even America's closest Eastern European ally doesn't trust what Washington handed over and thinks the full truth could expose something even more massive. And so Poland is going on the offense here. The National Prosecutor's Office said that they have a newly formed body dubbed Investigation Team Number 5, and they will be going through all the documents, all of the records, and they will be using anything in their power in order to look through this. Then separately, the Justice Ministry confirmed the creation of an analytical task force chaired by a chief justice, a top justice there as well. And so they're taking it seriously. But as I said, compare this to the DOJ in the United States. Their rapid response account yesterday posted, "Oversight Dems should stop misleading the public while manufacturing outrage from their radical anti-Trump base. The Justice Department has repeatedly said publicly and directly to NPR, prior to deadline, nothing has been deleted. If files are temporarily pulled for victim redactions or to redact personally identifiable information, then those documents are promptly restored online and are publicly available. All responsive documents have been produced unless a document falls within one of the following categories: duplicates, privileged, or part of an ongoing federal investigation." So do you see where the cover-up is right there? Yep. Not on the duplicates part, privileged, or part of an ongoing federal investigation. In other words, the Trump DOJ is their own adjudicator of what they're claiming is privileged, and they're using this broad term called deliberative process privilege to say that all of the internal memos, the work product, and all of the FBI interviews, a lot of this is deliberative process privilege, and so it's not being turned over. The Epstein Transparency Act does not say you can withhold documents on the basis of any type of privilege claim. And what would the deliberative process privilege claim even be at this point? And didn't the Department of Justice and the FBI claim several months ago, or even over last summer rather, that there was no ongoing investigation, but now they're saying there is federal investigation, but when they testify before Congress, they say that there is no investigation. So that's what our DOJ is doing, and they're obviously hiding. As I said, about 50 terabytes of documents are probably being concealed right now. The Oversight Dems response account and said, records of FBI interviews with a survivor who alleged Trump sexually assaulted her as a child aren't duplicates and shouldn't be privileged. You're prosecute him. That means you're going to withhold the documents by claiming that. Just think about that. There's an ongoing investigation. We can't tell you who.
Into who?
But that's why all the Trump documents are being withheld. That's their trick that they're using.
Have you reached out to the victims?
What they are doing. The news is loud. Tax season is here, and somehow
Have
you're
you
still expected to stay informed and functional.
No.
INDICTED is your fully legal online cannabis dispenser here in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. I don't care whether you're a MAGA February in perspective. Now, As I started this video, I also talked about how there were these MAGA Republican Congress members, these MAGA Congresswomen who were out there saying, you know what, it's even more than just, the Epstein files. They're saying, we want to out our male colleagues here in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. I don't care whether you're a MAGA Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're an independent, doesn't matter. If you made hush money settlement payments for sexual assault, that should be revealed publicly. Don't we all agree with that? Here's what Lauren Boebert said. Let's play this clip.
Obviously, you called on Congressman Gonzalez to resign over alleged sexual misconduct. There's now a resolution that would reveal a lot more about the culture of sexual misconduct in Congress. Are you supportive of that, despite Congresswoman Mace?
I'm absolutely supportive of Congresswoman Mace's resolution to uncover the other sexual harassment issues that take place here in our nation's capital. And even further, I am supportive of releasing the Congressional Hush Money Slush Fund. There's been tens of millions of dollars that have been paid out over the years here in Congress to keep Hill staffers quiet about alleged sexual misconduct and other forms of mistreatment in the office. So I would love to see every congressman who's ever had to pay a settlement to a staffer, and I'm certainly supportive of Nancy Mace's resolution.
I guess what would be your message to a staffer who finds themselves in these terrible situations where members are being creepy to them?
I mean, it's awful. It's awful in any workplace. It certainly shouldn't be held here. We have high standards. We agree to these standards. We promise hundreds of thousands of people that we are leaders of integrity, and it shouldn't be happening here.
And here's what Nancy Mace and Anna Paulina Luna told our reporter, Pablo Manriquez. Here, play this clip.
You called for the resignation of Tony Gonzalez. Have you heard anything back from leadership?
No, we haven't, and I filed a resolution last night to publicly expose all the sexual harassment violations of members of Congress.
Okay, got it. And
I'll force a vote on it.
how quickly could a vote?
Members
2
of
days,
Congress.
a day or two after. I'll file on the 4th, we'll probably vote on the 5th.
Is this something like the Epstein files? It's going to take months and months and months to see those.
They'll probably just refer it to committee and sweep it under the rug like they always do. Word will die. Everything goes to dying.
Agent of Tony Gonzalez. Have you heard anything back from leadership?
No, we haven't, and I've relations of members of Congress. I'll file it as privilege next week.
Okay, got it. And
I'll force a vote on it.
how quickly could a vote
2 days, a day or two after. I'll file on the 4th, we'll probably vote on the 5th.
Is this something like the Epstein files? It's going to take months and months and months to see those.
They'll probably just refer it to committee and sweep it under the rug like they always do. Word will die. Everything goes to dying committee. Yep.
But if it's going to die in the committee, then how can the American people, how can Texans, his constituents specifically, know what happened?
Voters are going to have to turn out against him, or force him to resign. I mean, I don't know how he moves forward. It was disgusting. It was shameful, and it's why many women feel like second-class citizens. And we just got to say no more. He's got to go.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman.
Thank you.
Now, also, as Donald Trump's dark past is surfacing as well, I got to give a hat tip to Ryan Goodman's piece. And here's what he uncovered as well. 5 days after Jeffrey Epstein's arrest, federal authorities directed New York law enforcement authorities to stand down. New documents released by the DOJ show. So the Attorney General's, the Special Victims Unit, SVU, in New York City, in Manhattan, was told, do not investigate Epstein. The feds will handle it. And then the feds didn't really look after the co-conspirators.
They got to stand down from
beat
who?
the chat. Let me know what works best for you. Okay, and then we found out what are from United States attorneys to each.
Stand down.
Feds protected the Epstein class. Just look at these emails. Look at EFTA 156644. Here's what it says. These are from United States attorneys to each other. Memo to file regarding DANY call. That's the District Attorney of New York. That's the Manhattan DA's office. Hi, do you have time for a call to discuss a victim who recently came to our attention with connections to Epstein Maxwell? To be clear, we aren't suggesting investigating Maxwell for more crimes, but this victim has identified other potential traffickers.
Thank you,
and
Peter.
we think it makes sense to do a bit of due diligence before deciding what, if anything, we should do with that information. And then it goes on to say, stand down their investigation related to Epstein. New documents released by the DOJ show. So the Attorney General's, the Special Victims Unit, SVU, in New York City, in Manhattan, was told, do not investigate Epstein. The feds will handle it. And then the feds didn't really look after the co-conspirators. And the feds protected the Epstein class. Just look at these emails. Look at EFTA 156644. Here's what it says. These are from United States attorneys to each other. Memo to file regarding DANY call. That's the District Attorney of New York. That's the Manhattan DA's office. Hi, do you have time for a call to discuss a victim who recently came to our attention with connections to Epstein Maxwell? To be clear, we aren't suggesting investigating Maxwell for more crimes, but this victim has identified other potential traffickers. And we think it makes sense to do a bit of due diligence before deciding what, if anything, we should do with that information. And then it goes on to say, apologies on the delay. Happy to chat. Let me know what works best for you. Okay, and then we found out what happened before then. We had some issues prior and post arrest of Epstein with possible rumors of the District Attorney of New York having a case on him. We eventually found out, I think after the arrest was made, that the NYPD special victims did fly to New Mexico to interview an Epstein victim, Farmer. After our arrest was public, some phone calls were made amongst NYPD brass, and I'm pretty sure their investigation was closed and differed to us. I'm not totally sure of the DANY, that's again, District Attorney of New York's involvement into that investigation, or if they ever stopped. Our assumption was obviously they closed anything they had after his death. It may be an issue, though, if DANY somehow was continuing an investigation into Prince Andrew or his best friend Maxwell. This is something we may want to figure out. I'm hoping they are continuing to defer this case to us, but we may not know without making a few inquiries. And then it goes on to say, so-and-so just called. FBI reached out to NYPD. This is in 2019. FBI reached out to NYPD leadership already, and they were told that Special Victims Unit has been directed to stand down, and that all Epstein stuff needs to go to and through us. DANY could still try to go forward with their own investigators, so I think it's worth a call over. I mean, it's right there, folks. Isn't it right there? I want to show you a few more things as well. This was Congressmember Garcia last night before the State of the Union with Annie Farmer. Here's what she's a survivor of Epstein. Let's play this clip.
Yesterday, I actually looked at this tranche of documents that was being described to you. We've been investigating this allegation now for a few weeks. And what I can confirm to what Lisa said and other reporting is that I have seen the manifest document that lays out the series of documents that includes interviews and other files. Within that grouping, it's clear that what's been presented to the Congress, there is a group of documents or document that is actually missing. I myself reviewed these exact documents, the manifest, yesterday. I have seen other interviews and documentation with this survivor, but those additional documents seem to be missing. And that's something that I confirmed as of yesterday in my visit to the Department of Justice. The idea that there is a possible cover-up or that we are hiding actual documentation of an alleged crime by the President of the United States, of which a survivor appears to have made, is incredibly serious, and the DOJ has to explain to the public where are these possible documents and what do they say.
Here's what Thomas Massey said before the State of the Union. Let's play this clip.
Congress created the Department of Justice. Congress funds the Department of Justice, and Congress is responsible for the oversight of the Department of Justice. When will we see justice? I'll tell you what I've not seen. I've not seen any arrests from the revelations in the Epstein files, over 3 million documents describing horrible things, describing unspeakable things, so much of it redacted. Over 24 people have resigned, CEOs, members of government worldwide, but I haven't seen any arrests or investigations here in the United States from this Department of Justice. Prince Andrew, Duke of York, who has since been stripped of his royalty, his royal titles due to his affiliation with Jeffrey Epstein, has been arrested. Peter Mandelson, who previously served as UK's ambassador to the United States, resigned in disgrace from United Kingdom's House of Lords and the Labour Party, and he's been arrested. Former Prime Minister of Norway, Torbjorn Jagland, has been charged. But we don't see any charges, arrests, or investigations in the United States. What do we see? We see our FBI director celebrating in the locker room at the Olympics overseas. It's fine to be proud of this country, but we should be proud of this country because we have a system of justice that works. And
Please hit the like button as you enter in. I would greatly appreciate it.
I'll name them right here. Leon Black. You don't even have to see past the redactions to see that this man needs to be investigated. Jess Staley, accused of terrible things. It's right there in the files. Why is he not being investigated? And Leslie Wexner. Why did the FBI list him as a co-conspirator in their own documents in a child sex trafficking case and then tell him, according to him, that they had no questions for him? Why is that? Well, the Epstein Files Transparency Act requires the DOJ and the FBI to disclose to us their internal memos and emails about how they made those decisions, whether to prosecute or not prosecute. Yet they have not delivered those memos. And we still don't have the memos and documents and emails from 2008 to explain why Jeffrey Epstein was given such a light sentence in what would have been an open and shut case of child sex trafficking, which allowed him to go back and recommit these terrible crimes, create hundreds of more victims, and ensnare so many other people in his conspiracy. Where are those documents that describe those decisions? We need justice. We want the Department of Justice to get to work, and that's what they need to do now.
And here's what Nancy Mace had to say before the State of the Union, or it was 2 days before. Here's what she had to say. Let's play this clip right here.
Do you think there will be arrests in America?
No, I don't. I have no confidence in our justice system. I think it's a system of injustice. I think the way that these victims and others get justice are seeing people, if they're not going to go to jail, be removed from boards, be publicly shamed out of civil society, lose their companies. You're starting to see some of that. The dominoes are falling, but they're not falling fast enough. And that's why I'm really intent on getting all the files out there. And I don't believe there's any more investigation. There are not going to be any more indictments because I believe Epstein was an intel asset, maybe of one or multiple nations, and that's why our country protected him and the information and videos and audio that he had on other world leaders. But until people go to jail, people want justice, and that's the only way we're going to get it right now.
So we'll keep you posted every step of the way, but those are some, I think, big significant revelations.
Okay, so since we can't get the likes up, I got one more, and then I'm out.
Show the full picture because there was survivor.
Can I get y'all to hit the like button, please?
We are anonymous, and we are dropping straight into the missing pieces nobody wants to talk about, because this is not just another Washington food fight. This is an Epstein Files scandal update that directly touches Donald Trump, and it is getting darker the more you look at what is
absolutely getting darker.
simple.
It's getting darker. Can y'all hit the like button?
Disturbing. Credible information connected to a survivor.
That the DOJ has in their possession. I'm very aware of the survivor, and why these documents are missing is a critical question right now for the DOJ.
Who made serious allegations about Trump appears to be missing from the Epstein file materials that should exist. And the accusation is that Trump's Justice Department is withholding, concealing, and scrubbing key parts of the record. Not just from the public, but even from members of Congress who are supposed to be able to review unredacted material. That is the part that you'd make your stomach tighten, because when you are hiding material from the people with clearance to see it, you are not managing privacy. You are managing exposure. The way this is being described is not vague. The Oversight Committee, the House Committee, presiding over the Epstein files investigations in Congress, has Democrats who say they are seeing a manifest, basically an index of documents and interviews that a survivor participated in, and those items should be available to Congress as part of the document production. Some items exist in the set they can access, but there are documents and what appear to be FBI interviews that are listed as having happened, yet are missing from what they have in front of them. That is the core red flag. When a list says something exists and the thing is not in the package, you do not shrug and move on. You ask who removed it, who decided it should be missing, and who benefits from that absence. Representative Robert Garcia, the top Democrat on House Oversight, puts it in plain language. He says there is a survivor who made serious allegations against the president. He says the FBI participated in interviews and discussions with the survivor. He says that while looking at DOJ documents, there is a list of documents and interviews the survivor participated in that should be made available as part of the files.
Clear. We have a survivor that made serious allegations against the president. Clearly, the FBI participated in some interviews and discussions with this survivor. When looking at the DOJ documents, there is a manifest or a list of documents and interviews that the survivor participated in and that should be made available to the Congress as part of the document file search.
Garcia emphasizes they are reviewing unredacted documents that DOJ has in its possession, and yet there is still a series of documents and possible FBI interviews missing that they do not have access to.
Some of those documents and interviews we've had access to, but there's a series of documents and what appears to be possible interviews that the FBI conducted with the survivor that are actually missing, that we don't have access to. And to remind the public, we're viewing unredacted documents.
That means the concealment is not just a public relations problem. It is an internal obstruction problem. It is information being kept from elected officials who are lawfully reviewing unredacted materials. And here is where Trump enters the story in the most Trump way possible, because the entire political framing around the Epstein files was a MAGA performance for years. Trump and his surrogates spent the 2024 cycle fanning conspiracism and pretending they were the champions of transparency. They sold the idea that the Epstein files would expose some shadowy network, and they pushed it with one clear motive. They thought it would politically damage Democrats, and only Democrats.
Separately, the Oversight Democrats have said, for the past few weeks, Oversight Democrats have been investigating the FBI's handling of allegations from 2019 of sexual assault on a minor made against Donald Trump by a survivor. Oversight Democrats can confirm that the DOJ appears to have illegally withheld FBI interviews with the survivor who accused Trump of heinous crimes. Oversight Democrats will open a parallel investigation into this. Covering up direct evidence of a potential assault by the President of the United States is the most serious possible crime in this.
That was always the grift. They were not demanding sunlight because they value truth. They were demanding a weapon they believed would only cut one direction. But Trump himself never sounded comfortable with that weapon being swung too close to his own face. He let surrogates scream it. He let the base obsess over it, and he tried to keep enough distance to deny responsibility if it turned back on him. There is a telling moment described from that friendly TV interview-style setting where Trump is asked about releasing a series of famous files, JFK, MLK, 9/11, and he is quick with, yes, yes, yes. Then the Epstein files come up, and the tone shifts. Suddenly it is not a clean yes. Suddenly it is hedging and caution, the nervous little add-on about needing to be careful. That is not a man excited about transparency. That is a man calculating risk, and Trump is nothing, if not a calculator of risk to himself. He loves secrets when the secrets protect him, and he hates disclosure when disclosure could expose him. Then Trump wins, and the promises collide with reality. The MAGA base expects the release. Trump begins to throw obstacles in the way, publicly and privately, and then tries to claim credit for whatever partial release occurs anyway. But the point being made in the original narration is that he deserves no credit because he tried to stop the release and only failed. The release is described as still not compliant with the law, still not compliant with mandated transparency. And now this helps explain why. Because it is not just about embarrassing friends. It is about embarrassing Trump. It is about material that could implicate him, damage him, or expose what was investigated and what was recorded. Now let's talk about the forensic detail that makes this more than a political argument. There are indices, lists of witness statements, including people who were not expected to testify at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, but whose statements were still produced to her defense counsel in the run-up to that 2021 trial. There is also a smaller index for witnesses expected to testify. Those indices list documents and interview memoranda connected to specific witnesses. They function like a roadmap, and the reporting described in the original text says that based on those indices and other documents available in the file,
Epstein files, DOJ may have withheld FBI interviews with Trump accuser, Representative Garcia said. NPR has reported on this as well. The Justice Department withheld and removed some Epstein files related to Trump.
There is at least one witness for whom multiple FBI interviews in rapid succession in 2019 appear to be missing. You might ask, why does that matter? Because the next connection is the explosive one. The narrative says it can be confirmed that this woman is identified in a later FBI presentation compiled in 2025 as someone who accused Donald Trump of sexual assault when she was between 13 and 15 years old. The accusation described includes forcing her to perform oral sex and physically hitting her in the same episode. That is not a rumor being pulled from...
Now, I do think it's ironic that it's coming out now. She's been in the Epstein files, but the Clintons are going before the committee Thursday and Friday. I think tomorrow is Hillary, Friday is Bill. So I'm sure it's going to come out Friday. I'm almost sure it's going to come out Friday. And thinking about, oh boy, that the FBI raided today. He was in Florida. What did he do in Florida? I was trying to see if he had a connection. If he had a connection to Trump. He do have a connection with Florida, though. I would not be surprised if what comes out with Bill Clinton won't touch bases on that girl. I hope they are working it out that way. Since he insisted, see, this is what he insisted, and Bill and Hillary wanted it public. Let's just put it all out there. Trump then moonwalked back and said, no, we don't want it public. We've been knowing about the girl. Just like we've been knowing about Sasha Riley. And I'm going to tell you this, every one of them videos, they done pulled that back. Pam Bondi in there too. They don't pull that back. Everything that is true, they are pulling those videos back. Be like, give me that. Every last one of them. So I would not be surprised if there is not a connection. Sasha Riley's dad, Bill, his emails to Epstein came out. I saw them last night. I'll bring it later on tonight, but we saw that last night. Kind of caught me off guard. That Sasha Riley's daddy, conversation, coercion. At that time, he was presented as like an investigator. Virginia Giuffre said that he came to her as security. So Sasha, and he's in the Epstein files as a pilot who trafficked the kids, brought kids to Trump's and them farm. So it sounds like it's getting a texture and a feel like hopefully Bill is going to bring some light to what's already in the Epstein files that they have intentionally hid. They waited until this week. Just like they waited until last night and multiple news channels, media, who had not been talking about Trump is talking about that minor at that time who personally implemented Trump. Not just physical, not just sexual assault, but physical. It was on purpose. Let's keep listening. Y'all, I need for y'all to hit the like button. The tea is too hot for my lights not to be up. I don't care how many people in here. At one point, it was 200 and something. Let's hit the like button.
Forcing her to perform oral sex and physically hitting her in the same episode. That is not
They're just not
in a
saying
later
it.
FBI presentation compiled in 2025 as someone who accused Donald Trump of sexual assault when she was between 13 and 15 years old. The accusation described includes forcing her to perform oral sex and physically hitting her in the same episode. That is not a rumor being pulled from thin air inside a comment section. It is described as tied to FBI materials and corroborated through a human source, confirming the woman is the same person linked across the indices and the later presentation. Now comes the detail that makes people argue and debate, because it is the kind of detail that screams selective omission. The woman was interviewed by the FBI 4 times.
4 times.
In 2019. Those 4 interview memoranda are listed in the index, but only one is visible in the public file materials. And in that one visible memo, the explicit accusations against Trump are not present. At most, she says she met Trump on one occasion without detailing it. That is the surviving fragment. But the existence of the other 3 memoranda is still indicated by the index, and those 3 are missing. That is the alleged gap. That is the missing detail. That is the hole in the record. And the visible memo contains another detail that makes this feel like a live wire. She explains how she understood Epstein was someone who abused her, and she shows FBI agents a picture she had been sent by a friend. She was reluctant to show the full picture because there was somebody else in the photo, somebody she feared could retaliate against her. According to the memo described, it turned out to be the well-known photograph of Epstein and Trump together. So in the one memo that remains, Trump is already hovering in the background as a presence she is cautious about, as a person she fears could retaliate, as a figure connected by imagery to Epstein. And then you are asked to believe that the 3 other interview memoranda just happen to be missing, and that it means nothing. Come on. Trump's entire career is built on people being pressured into silence, people being intimidated, people being threatened, and institutions looking the other way. This fits his pattern like a glove. The argument being made is not that everything is proven in court within 5 minutes. The argument is that there is no innocent explanation for a system where indies list interviews, where Maxwell's defense received materials, where the government itself tracked and numbered witnesses and documents, and yet the public file set and even congressional review sets appear to be missing specific FBI memoranda tied to allegations involving the president. If those statements were important enough to hand to Maxwell's defense, it becomes unclear why they would be withheld from the American public under a transparency law. And it becomes even more unclear why members of Congress reviewing unredacted material would be blocked from seeing the full set. And then the original narration widens the lens, warning that this could be happening across the file, set not just for one witness. The index gives a unique numerical identifier to more than 500 witnesses and lists the kinds of documents from which statements were taken. FBI interview memos.
I know you lying. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. I know you lying. Get the lights up, please. I know you lying. I know you lying. I know you. Can y'all hit those? Let me take this out my ear. The 3 dots at the top right. I know. I know this ain't who I think it is. I know this ain't who I think it is. Hold on. Who is John Roberts? Who is John Roberts? Who is John? Who the is John Roberts? Can anybody tell me who the is John Roberts? Is he a judge? I know that ain't the judge. I know that ain't the judge. I know that ain't the judge. So, Judge Thomas ain't the only. I know Judge Robert. Oh my God today. The one that was at the State of the Union last night. I know. Is this John Roberts? Baby, I know you lying. I know you lying. Was he on Epstein Island with them kids? Was the judge on the island with them kids? Is he the Supreme Court judge that is always passing stuff that probably shouldn't be passed? Was he on the Epstein Island? I know you lying. Lord, it just can't keep getting no worse. What it say? Photo. Ooh. Let me get this right now. It says photo. I need a picture. Let me, baby. It says photo of John Roberts with Bill Clinton at Sick Island, and the flight log. He was there twice. So the Judge John Roberts, is in the Epstein files on the island and on the log. Baby, let's go. I can't hear about the pizza. Lolita. Oh Lord. Let's we gotta go back. We gotta go back. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I need to catch this picture. Hold on. Oh my God. I need to catch this picture. Is this why Ghislaine Maxwell is out? Is this why they done moved her out? On the cool, is this why Ghislaine Maxwell is out? The judge is in the Epstein files. Chief Justice John Roberts with Ghislaine Maxwell. Y'all hit the like button. Like, share, and subscribe. Cop you a membership. Chief Justice John Roberts and Ghislaine Maxwell. He is in the Epstein files. Him. Wow. Wow. Let's see what else it shows. Hold on.
Me up into the clouds, yummy, yummy. Left the old rich crowd.
Excuse me. He in the Epstein files. I'm trying to see what this is. And he got somebody. I hope them his kids. I hope them his kids. Hold on. I hope them his kids. The judge is in the Epstein files. The judge was hemmed up with Ghislaine Maxwell. He's in the Lolita log twice. He's in the Lolita. So he took a flight on the jet twice. One time he was there with Bill. Didn't I tell you Bill was going to disclose some things? Did we just talk about Bill? And he said that he was there with Bill. See how that worked? Y'all see how that worked? In the Epstein files. I keep asking y'all to hit the like button. Y'all gonna make me not want to explode. Give y'all the tea when I get it, because y'all playing with me on the likes. He in the Epstein files. Let me finish this up so I can go. Oh my goodness. We just saw him Where is Lolita? Where it is this it? Lord.
She is cautious about. As a person she fears could retaliate, as a figure
Wow.
connected by imagery to Epstein. And then you are asked to believe that the 3 other interview memoranda just happen to be missing, and that it means nothing. Come on. Trump's entire career is built on people being pressured into silence, people being intimidated,
Wow.
people being threatened, and institutions looking the other way. This fits his pattern like a glove. The argument being made is not that everything is proven in court within 5 minutes. The argument is that there is no innocent explanation for a system where indices list interviews, where Maxwell's defense received materials, where the government itself tracked and numbered witnesses and documents, and yet the public file set and even congressional review sets appear to be missing specific FBI memoranda
The
tied to
judge,
allegations involving
not
the
only
president.
Judge
If
Clarence
those
Thomas.
statements were important enough to hand to Maxwell's defense, it becomes unclear why they would be withheld from the American public under a
Where's my
transparency
other
law.
device?
And it becomes even more unclear why members of Congress reviewing unredacted material would be blocked from seeing
Oh, I
the
know
full
Jim
set.
Jordan's
And then
sick.
the
I know
original
all of
narration
them sick.
widens the lens, warning that this could be happening across the file, set not just for one witness. The index gives a unique numerical identifier to more than 500 witnesses and lists the kinds of documents from which statements were taken. FBI interview memos, police incident reports, handwritten notes, and more. If you go through methodically, you can identify what has been produced and what has not. The expectation is that this missing pattern may recur with dozens of other witnesses, many of whom were alleged victims who do not have all of their statements produced. That is not just a Trump problem. That is a structural transparency failure. But when the missing items touch the sitting president, it becomes a Trump problem in the most direct
Thank you,
way
Monty.
possible. This is why the phrase White House cover-up appears in the original text. Because if DOJ is withholding direct evidence of a potential assault by the President of the United States, that is the most serious kind of cover-up you can imagine. Trump loves calling everything a witch hunt. He loves pretending he is the victim of a deep state. But in this story, Trump is not the victim. He is the beneficiary. His Justice Department is accused of being the broom, sweeping and scrubbing. And that is the nightmare scenario in any democracy. Law enforcement resources being used to protect the leader rather than
This
the law.
is just blowing my mind.
Democracy is almost too on the nose. Trump's movement screamed for the Epstein files because they thought it would hurt Democrats. Now the files become dangerous to Trump, and suddenly there are delays, hedges, careful language obstacles, and now claims of missing memoranda. Trump promised transparency, like he promises everything, loudly, confidently, shamelessly, and then, when the promise threatens him, he breaks it. He reneges. He drags it out. He blocks it. He throws sand in the gears. That is Trump. He does not believe in principles. He believes in advantage. And you can hear the fear in the original narration that this will be drowned out by the constant noise of Trump's lawlessness. That is another Trump tactic. He floods the zone. He creates so many scandals that the public becomes numb. He normalizes corruption by making it non-stop. He dares people to keep up. And while everyone is chasing the next outrage, the real damage happens quietly in the missing pages, the missing memoranda, the withheld interviews, the scrubbed database entries. So this is where the debate ignites. Some people will say missing documents could be bureaucratic error. Others will say missing documents in a case touching the president are not error, they are intent. Some will argue privacy redactions. Others will argue that this is not about redactions. It is about absence, about items listed but not provided. Some will say, let investigations play out. Others will say, that is exactly the line people use to buy time, while evidence is...
Sorry. No, Rock. I'm back. Did you hear me saying no? Hold on. I had unplugged it to get the battery from trying to get the judge up close and personal. We back. Hold on.
Beard could retaliate against her. According to the memo described, it turned out to be the well-known photograph of Epstein and Trump together. So in the one memo that remains, the Trump is around as a presence she is cautious about, as a person she fears could retaliate, as a figure connected by imagery to Epstein. And then you are asked to believe that the 3 other interview memoranda just happen to be missing, and that it means nothing. Come on. Trump's entire career is built on people being pressured into silence, people being intimidated, people threatened. The argument being made is not that everything is proven in court within 5 minutes. The argument is that there is no innocent explanation for a system where indices list interviews, where Maxwell's defense received materials, where the government itself tracked and numbered witnesses and documents, and yet the public file set and even congressional review sets appear to be missing specific FBI memoranda tied to allegations involving the president. If those statements were important enough to hand to Maxwell's defense, it becomes unclear why they would be withheld from the American public under a transparency law. And it becomes even more unclear why members of Congress reviewing unredacted material would be blocked from seeing the full set. And then the original narration widens the lens, warning that this could be happening across the file, set not just for one witness. The index gives a unique numerical identifier to more than 500 witnesses and lists the kinds of documents from which statements were taken. FBI interview memos, police incident reports, handwritten notes, and more. If you go through methodically, you can identify what has been produced and what has not. The expectation is that this missing pattern may recur, with dozens of other witnesses, many of whom were alleged victims, who do not have all of their statements produced. That is not just a Trump problem. That is a structural transparency failure. But when the missing items touch the sitting president, it becomes a Trump problem in the most direct way possible. This is why the phrase White House cover-up appears in the original text. Because if DOJ is withholding direct evidence of a potential assault by the President of the United States, that is the most serious kind of cover-up you can imagine. Trump loves calling everything a witch hunt. He loves pretending he is the victim of a deep state. But in this story, Trump is not the victim. He is the beneficiary. His Justice Department is accused of being the
they need to release these Epstein files, then we'll know if these pictures and accusations are true.
The leader, rather than the
release all the files.
Is almost too on the nose. Trump's movement screamed for the Epstein files because they thought it would hurt Democrats. Now the files become dangerous to Trump, and suddenly there are delays, hedges, careful language obstacles, and now claims of missing memoranda. Trump promised transparency, like he promises everything, loudly, confidently, shamelessly, and then, when the promise threatens him, he breaks it. He reneges. He drags it out. He blocks it. He throws sand in the gears. That is Trump. He does not believe in principles. He believes in advantage. And you can hear the fear in the original narration that this will be drowned out by the constant noise of Trump's lawlessness. That is another Trump tactic. He floods the zone. He creates so many scandals that the public becomes numb. He normalizes corruption by making it non-stop. He dares people to keep up. And while everyone is chasing the next outrage, the real damage happens quietly in the missing pages, the missing
Y'all hit the like button. I got another one.
The scrubbed database entries. So this is where the debate ignites. Some people will say missing documents could be bureaucratic error. Others will say missing documents in a case touching the president are not error. They are intent. Some will argue privacy redactions. Others will argue that this is not about redactions. It is about absence, about items listed but not provided. Some will say, let investigations play out. Others will say, that is exactly the line people use to buy time while evidence is buried. And through it all sits Trump, the same man who built his image on bullying, intimidation, and denial, now at the center of a disclosure scandal, where the most sensitive pieces just happen to be the ones that vanish. We are anonymous, and the point is simple. When the Epstein files release, has a paper trail showing what should exist, and when those items are missing, and when the missing items touch allegations against Donald Trump, you do not brush it off. And when those items are missing, and when the missing items touch allegations against Donald Trump, you do not brush it off. You treat it as the most serious kind of institutional corruption until proven otherwise. Because a Justice Department that hides evidence to protect a president is not justice. It is power protecting itself. And with Trump, that is never theoretical. That is his brand.
Restaurant store.
30 chairs, non-squeak.
Restaurant store.
15 non-wobbly tables.
Breaking news, we are back with a special edition of Out Front ahead of the State of the Union, beginning momentarily, where about a dozen Jeffrey Epstein survivors are expected to be there in the room attending the
Oh, this was yesterday.
And the top Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, meantime, is accusing the Justice Department tonight of a cover-up related to its release of the Epstein files, specifically saying that the DOJ withheld FBI interviews with an underage survivor who alleged Donald Trump sexually assaulted her. Now, the Justice Department is pushing back, saying that that file had been removed temporarily, they say, for victim redactions, and then was put back up. Trump, of course, has long denied wrongdoing and has not been accused by law enforcement of
I
crimes
always
related
follow
to
the
Epstein.
money.
Out front now, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna, who's on the Oversight Committee, and of course, he, along with Thomas Massey, have indefatigably fought for the release of these files that we've gotten so far. Haley Robson is also with me, Epstein survivor, familiar to any viewer of this show. She says Epstein assaulted her when she was only 16 years old. And Haley, you're going to be there with Congressman Khanna at the State of the Union, along with other survivors. And that is obviously hugely significant tonight. Congressman, the Justice Department, on this file that I was just mentioning, they say it's back up. They say nothing was deleted. What more do you know about what happened here?
It should have never been taken down.
Well, NPR had a
Yeah, let me go before I go, because y'all can't get the likes up. Let me get to Pam Bondi, since her name is in the title.
Because there was somebody else in the photo. Somebody she feared.
Hold on.
Consequences are beginning to form.
Consequences.
We are learning now that articles of impeachment have been filed against Pam Bondi. Rep. Summerlee has introduced articles of impeachment against Pam Bondi. And why this is so important is because we learned yesterday through NPR that the Trump administration has been withholding files from the Epstein case that have implicated Donald Trump. Here's a bit of that. Learning now that articles of impeachment have been filed against Pam Bondi. Rep. Summerlee has introduced articles of impeachment against Pam Bondi. And why this is so important is because we learned yesterday through NPR that the Trump administration has been withholding files from the Epstein case that have implicated Donald Trump. Here's a bit of that. A bombshell report regarding the Epstein files is threatening to spoil Donald Trump's big day. This was reported yesterday before his State of the Union address. An NPR investigation published the morning of the President's State of the Union address alleged that DOJ withheld dozens of documents from its Epstein release that may pertain to a woman who accused Jeffrey Epstein and Trump of her when she was a minor. The FBI took the allegations against the president so seriously that it reportedly sent agents to interview his accuser a total of 4 times in 2019. However, only documents regarding the first interview have been released. Independent journalist Roger Sollenberger revealed this month. NPR now reports that the missing documents from the next 3 interviews include what appears to be more than 50 pages of documents detailing FBI sit-downs with the accuser, who said she was around 13 when she was with the men in the early 1980s. And the outlet NPR wrote that it reviewed serial numbers and found that dozens of pages are cataloged by the Justice Department but not shared publicly. The Justice Department did respond to this, and they said the following: "We have not deleted anything, and as we have always said, all documents responsive were produced." Oh my God.
Bullshit?
I don't know if they deleted anything, but they didn't include it in the Epstein file release. It goes on to say here that documents not included on the DOJ site, quote, fall in one of the following categories: duplicates, privileged, or part of an ongoing federal investigation. Okay. In total, NPR reported finding what appears to be 53 pages of interviews, documents, and notes missing from the public database. And that's why it's so important that Rep. Summerlee has introduced articles of impeachment against Attorney General Pam Bondi. In a social media post Tuesday, Rep. Summerlee announced that she will introduce articles of impeachment against U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi over the Epstein files. The DOJ's refusal to comply with her subpoena and the law has gone on for too long. I'll be introducing articles of impeachment against Pam Bondi. It's time to stop allowing institutions and our own government to continue protecting the wealthy and the powerful. Lee is the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee on Federal Law Enforcement. Last month, she introduced an amendment to hold Bondi in civil contempt for non-compliance with the committee's subpoena to release the full unredacted Epstein files. Rep. Garcia said of this, of the DOJ's apparent violation of the Oversight Committee and the law, said, for the last few weeks, Oversight Democrats have been investigating the FBI's handling of allegations from 2019 on a minor made against President Donald Trump by a survivor. And then went on to say, yesterday, I reviewed unredacted evidence logs. The Department of Justice Oversight Democrats can confirm that the DOJ appears to have illegally withheld FBI interviews with this survivor who accused President Trump of heinous crimes. Oversight Democrats will open a parallel investigation into this. Under the Oversight Committee subpoena and the Epstein Files Transparency Act, these records must immediately be shared with Congress and the American public. Covering up direct evidence of a potential by the President of the United States is the most serious possible crime in this White House cover-up. Now again, the DOJ and Pam Bondi totally reject any of these claims, but I want to remind you that this is who they got. This is how Pam Bondi acted when she was under oath asked about the Epstein files.
You sit here and you attack the president, and I am not going to have it. I'm not going to put up with it. You know, all they want to do, the American people need to know this. They are talking about Epstein today.
Girl.
This has been around since the Obama administration.
You're not here for the people.
This administration released
I don't know what they
3
paying you for.
million
What are we
pages
paying
of
you for?
documents. Over 3 million. And Donald Trump signed that law to release all of those documents. He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. And none of them asked Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow right now.
That has to be my favorite thing to happen so far this year, because Donald Trump, the Dow
right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader. Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000.
I mean, obviously, she's innocent. She's done nothing wrong. The Dow is over 50,000. Like, of course, everything's on the up and up. And just to round this out with more Summerlee content, who, by the way, I think is a fierce politician and someone I hope we hear more from. Here is what she had to say about Donald Trump's State of the Union response.
Look at New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, who took on Andrew Cuomo and his corporate backers and won. He led a movement of renters, young people, and working families who had been told their voices did not matter. He proved that when you show up, when you speak clearly about how to meet people's basic needs, the people respond. And now look at New Jersey's newest Democratic nominee, Anna Mejia. She started her race at 5%. She was outspent 10-1, and she still won because she outworked party bosses and billionaires. And as a former director of the New Jersey Working Families Party, she had a record of delivering, raising the minimum wage, guaranteeing paid sick days, and defending voting rights. And there is more of this to come. Our democracy does not work when big money owns politicians. Americans are sick of a corrupt elite few causing all this harm. And that's why I introduced a bill to abolish the super PACs they use to control our country. The obscenely rich shouldn't be able to call the shots in our democracy, and they shouldn't be able to escape accountability. That's also why I moved to subpoena the DOJ to release the full, unredacted Epstein files back in July. I know what it feels like to be targeted by billionaires, to face attack ads and smear campaigns meant to silence you. It was demoralizing and exhausting. It was also a waste of their money because our movement won, and we have to keep winning. Because when we have progressives in Congress, we get legislation that meets the moment.
Period. That is the perfect way to round this out, is that I like that it's two-pronged. It's like, one, we're going to use the systems we have to go after the people who are not following the law, whether that be Pam Bondi or the billionaires who are protecting.
Ouch. Hold on. I got some in my other ear. What did I mark? Hold on. Ooh, it's coming out right before somebody just resigned. Right before the Clintons, Thursday and Friday. Oh, what a show it's gonna be. What a show. What a show. Where is...
Removed and held back dozens of files. Alright, we have a lot of news to break down. Just when I thought the files could not get any more disturbing, we now have a very serious allegation coming from an NPR investigation into Donald Trump's Department of Justice. This NPR investigation illustrates how Trump's DOJ surgically removed and held back dozens of files that accused Donald Trump of assaulting a minor. In fact, it was testimony from this minor on 3 different occasions going into detail about what happened with Donald Trump, of the people who have perpetrated these crimes, and we have seen under redactions of the people who the crimes were committed against, if you know what I'm saying. The DOJ is being sloppy, but not reckless. They're being intentionally sloppy because they know when to cover the names of these billionaires. That's why it's nice to see Thomas Massie on the floor just yesterday in a surgical manner. We have seen over redactions of the people who have perpetrated these crimes, and we have seen under redactions of the people who the crimes were committed against, if you know what I'm saying. The DOJ is being sloppy, but not reckless. They're being intentionally sloppy because they know when to cover the names of these billionaires. That's why it's nice to see Thomas Massie on the floor just yesterday.
We ain't going nowhere.
Listing off the names of people that need to be held accountable. He just listed off the name on the House floor, which is good. It's like that Lord of the Rings meme where Gimli says, I never thought I'd be fighting side by side with an elf. I feel like I never thought I'd be fighting side by side with a Republican, but Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie were able to create a duo that was honestly pretty damn strong. They were also sitting next to each other at the State of the Union. I wonder if they're planning some sort of run together in 2028, a bipartisan ticket. But let's watch Thomas Massie on the House floor listing these names. This is so incredibly important. If you appreciate the work that we do on the Adam Mockler feed, the debates, the breaking news, and it would mean the world if you could drop the like. Thank you all, everybody who subscribes on a daily basis. We are going to beat MAGA media, and we're going to do it together. So subscribe below.
I really like him.
Congress created the Department of Justice. Congress funds the Department
I hit the like button, y'all, so y'all hit the like button for me.
The oversight of the Department of Justice. When will we see justice?
Yep.
I'll tell you what I've not seen. I've not seen any arrests from the revelations in the Epstein files. Over 3 million documents describing horrible things, describing unspeakable things.
Thank you, Monty.
So much of it redacted. Over 24 people have resigned, CEOs, members of government worldwide. But I haven't seen any arrests or investigations here in the United States from this Department of Justice. Prince Andrew, Duke of York, who has since been stripped of his royal titles due to his affiliation with Jeffrey Epstein.
Check your affiliation.
Peter Mandelson, who previously served as UK's ambassador to the United States, resigned in disgrace from the United Kingdom's House of Lords and the Labour Party. And he's been arrested. Former Prime Minister of Norway, Torbjorn Jagland, has been charged.
He's just listing out the names.
But we don't see any charges, arrests, or investigations in the United States. What do we see? We see our FBI director celebrating in the locker room at the Olympics overseas. It's fine to be proud of this country, but we should be proud of this country because we have a system of justice that works. And yet we do not. Who are the men that should be investigated? I'll name them right here. Leon Black.
He names all of them. Leon Black.
I'll name them right here. Leon Black. You don't even have to see past the redactions to see that this man needs to be investigated. Jess Staley, accused of terrible things. It's right there in the files. Why is he not being investigated? And Leslie Wexner. Why did the FBI list him as a co-conspirator in their own documents in a child sex trafficking case, and then tell him, according to him, that they had no questions for him? Why is that? Well, the Epstein Files Transparency Act requires the DOJ and the FBI to disclose to us their internal memos and emails about how they made those decisions, whether to prosecute or not prosecute. Yet they have not delivered those memos.
Very well said from Thomas Massey, who named a few of them. Leslie Wexner, Leon Black, just listing them out. I want to go over to the MS Now segment where they talk about the files that were withheld, but I really quickly think it's very important to point out that the Republicans in Congress are currently covering up another case of sexual coercion right now. Now, Thomas Massey called it out, which is great. A lot of other Republicans have been speaking out, but Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has been quiet about Representative Tony Gonzalez, a Republican from Texas. I said, a Republican congressman used his power to pressure his aide into sending explicit photos. She said no, and he continued to push. She later committed suicide. Speaker Mike Johnson is now downplaying the situation because it threatens his majority in Congress. Did we learn nothing from the Epstein files cover-up? We are no longer in the era where rich and powerful men can get away with covering up for other rich and powerful men. We need consequences for the Epstein administration now, including Lutnick, Leslie Wexner, Gonzalez, and many, many more. Here's MSNBC breaking down what happened.
Lisa, you got this reporting. Walk us through it.
Thank you, Monty.
One of the things I can tell you is that based on documents that are available in the Epstein files, and we're just going to hold up to you what allowed us to get to this reporting. This is an index of witness statements from people who were not expected to testify at Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, but whose statements were nonetheless produced to her defense counsel in the run-up to her 2021 trial. We also have a smaller one with respect to those who were expected to testify. And based on those indices, as well as documents available in the file, MS Now can report that there is at least one witness for whom 3 interviews with the FBI in rapid succession in 2019 are missing. You might say, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, the big deal about that is that we can also confirm that that woman
I think they're going to nab, Bill Clinton. I think Bill Clinton, I'm trying to end this, but I'm trying to end it on what I've already looked at. Is this? Let me hear this one.
1980s was somewhere between 13. We have major developments this afternoon. The White House has an Epstein problem that does not seem to be going away, no matter how much the president and those around him want it to. This afternoon, we're learning confirmation that the White House and the Department of Justice have actively concealed several Epstein-related files that show witness accusations against the President of the United States for child sex abuse. At the same time, the Epstein files fallout continues to grow fast, with multiple wealthy, powerful people resigning from key positions as a result of their close relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. A major development right now. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The more you like, the more people see, and we need to keep the pressure on. Subscribe to my Substack. Click the link below. To support my work, or send a Venmo to Aaron-Parnas to keep me caffeinated. Let's jump right into it. This afternoon, we're learning that the following documents have yet to be released by the Justice Department. These documents contain witness interviews
How you have
of
them?
a
He
woman,
said
and that
they
woman who, at the time in the 1980s, was
Ooh,
somewhere between
hold
13
on.
to 15
He
years old.
says
She was
that
a
they
child.
have failed to be released. Well, then how you have them? You mean to tell me, Aaron, somebody, your dad, you the same Aaron who your daddy went to prison for Trump the last go around, the first go around, huh? Oh, so you very familiar. Yeah. So you mean to tell me you got a copy of what the DOJ have not released? How is that?
As a result of their close relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. A major development right now. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The more you like, the more people see it. We need to
Lord.
keep the pressure on. Subscribe to my Substack. Click the link below. To support my work, or send a Venmo to Aaron-Parnas to keep me caffeinated. Let's jump right into it. This afternoon, we're learning that the following documents have yet to be released by the Justice Department. These documents contain witness interviews of a woman, a now woman, who at the time in the 1980s was somewhere between 13 to 15 years old. She was a child. The highlighted documents are documents that the Department of Justice has never released. As you can see, they're interview notes and interview 302s, license records, and a law enforcement report. Now, why are these documents important? Well, these documents are important because in these FBI 302s, in these interview notes, that woman accuses the President of the United States of abusing her as a child back in the 1980s. This Department of Justice has actively withheld and concealed documents that may prove, or at least show, that the President of the United States is not as exonerated as he claims to be. And we may now know why. Because according to a January 4th, 2026 memo released by the Justice Department, attorneys in the DOJ were required to apply specific tags to FBI 302s. 302s are interview notes, essentially memorialized from an interview with an FBI agent. As you can see at the bottom, it says, if a document is tagged responsive, please proceed to evaluating whether it needs a content tag listed below. The ones that they have include deals, charging, destruction, flight logs, and 302s. So they specifically tagged FBI 302s like those mentioning serious, not horrific, allegations against the President of the United States. At the same time, while we keep pushing for justice there, more justice is coming out in the form of accountability. Richard Axel, a Nobel Prize-winning scientist and professor at Columbia University, announced today that he is resigning as a co-director of a flagship neuroscience institute at the university. He cited his past friendship with Jeffrey Epstein as the reason for his decision, adding to a growing list of prominent figures in academia and public life who are confronting
So we taking back
over their past
likes?
associations with Epstein.
We taking back likes. Is that what we doing? Y'all have a good evening.